Right, and it looks like we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports for the Currie Cup final. It all comes down to one game, 18 minutes, and we will have a Currie Cup champion. It is the Bulls versus the Sharks. What a clash it should be. So many small battles, so much on the line. Can the Bulls do a domestic double? Can the Sharks, on top of what's been quite a big season for them in terms of new players, whole coaching setup, stuff like that, and after quite a disappointing Super Rugby season, try and finish the season on a high. And look, I mean, interestingly, Sean Everett has been saying that he says he's actually not too worried about the result because he said this season was all about building identity, building a culture, and the trophy will be the thing on top. And I think that kind of sums it that all the teams are very much as this is the Currie Cup final, I think a lot of the teams are all sort of, given the fact that it's COVID, given the fact that we are, it's been such a weird season, that we're kind of gunning towards getting this done, going into the preseason and going into the Rainbow Cup. So before we go on to the teams, as well as going to have a bit of a fan forum, I'm going to have a couple of rugby fans join me shortly. Let's get our score predictions into the chat down below. Let me know who you're backing. Let me know where you're watching from. And let's try and get these score predictions down nice and early. We'll put them on paper and then we can go back at them at the end of the game. Right, so in terms of the teams, let's start with the Bulls and see what we've got going. Just the one change for the Bulls side, which is in the pack, which means that the back line is unchanged. We've got David Creel, Curtly Orenser, who I thought was very good in defense last week. Marco Jansen from Fury, who I think will probably be a bit of a weak point. Cornel Hendricks is playing fantastically at the moment. Stravino Jacobs, fantastic time to get his 2 tries last weekend. Morne Stady Van Zel, their experience, their tactical kicking will be very important. Dwayne Vermeulen and Thor will be trying to lead them to a trophy. Ulrich Lowe, Marco van Staden completes that terrific loose trio. And then we've got Ruan Nokia and Sintu Manjesi at lock. Sintu Manjesi was very good line-out time last weekend. And then a very powerful front row. Cheben Yokane and Liza Goboka are the 2 props. And Johan Krabala is the only change in the starting lineup. On the subs bench, Skalki Rasmus drops to the bench. Jacques Vernooy and Morne Smith are the other front row replacements. Yanes Arno Buerta cover the rest of the pack. What a player to have somebody like Arno Buerta coming off the bench. Then we've got Ambrose Papier, Chris Smith, and Marnus Portgieter. So, look, the youngsters in Marnus Portgieter, but I mean, Ambrose Papier and Chris Smith have definitely had some very impressive performances over the years. And then if we look at the Sharks side, it's a very good Sharks side, and I think the backline, if the backline can get firing, they could punish the Bulls. I think conditions will come into the game in a big way. So if we're looking there, Apelele Fassi, Spur and Corsi, and Penke is the back 3, which is a lot of pace, a lot of work rate. Lakanya and Marius Lowe, hard-hitting Marius Lowe, and then the ever-creative Lakanya who is leading the side today. Curran Bosch, that massive boot of his will be very important. And then Jaden Hendrickson gets a start, which for me is very well deserved. Tikomoze Noche, Henko Fente, and Dylan Richardson are a very different loose trio, but are very good in their own right. Ruben van Heerden and JJ van der Mesh get the nod at lock. And then we've got Thomas Dutoy, Fezenbata, and Oxen Chair at the front row. Thomas Dutoy, a big boost. And then on the bench, we've got Dan Uester, Mzamo Majola, Mark Kumbara, who struggled a little bit of scrum time, but a very good and up-and-coming prop. Hiron Andrews, I'm a big fan of his, has played some good rugby, as has Tembalani Boli. And then Sanela Nahamba, who's been dropped to the bench. He'll want to try and prove something when he does come on. Jeremy Ward, very good defensively, and Marty Liebach, who can cover 10 and 15. So it's 2 very, very good sides. And in terms of predictions in the comments, we've got Sharks 30-23, Bulls. So Dragon Unite back in the Sharks there. Mark Peters saying the Bulls are going to take it. Adil saying it's 32-23 possible for the Sharks. And Brendan saying 27-13 to the Sharks. So in fact, most people bringing back in the Sharks. And with just over 15 minutes to go, I'm going to bring in a good friend of mine and a rugby fanatic in Lukanyo Chongweni. Chongs, how you doing, chap?
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me. Good, thanks yourself.
Yeah, all good, all good. So, the size and the physicality of the Bulls versus the sort of open play and the skill set of the Sharks. Who are you backing today?
It's going to be an interesting battle up front, Steve. And I think we've got 2 packs that are, I think we can easily say they're established. We've got 2 packs that have got a number of Springboks. I saw pictures earlier on. It seems like it's a dry day, sunny day at Loftus. So I think the Bulls, though, have a slight upper hand. When I look at just the pack, it's a more heavier pack. Come set piece time, that could possibly, be to their advantage. So I think the pack versus pack, I'd argue that the Bulls have got the upper hand.
And being a front row specialist, the front row battle I think is going to be a huge one, and we've got lots. We've got sort of two. We've got a World Cup winner, and then we've got. I mean, I think if you look at the sort of between the sort of the four props, probably all going to be pushing for a box spot at one stage. So who do you think is going to have the upper hand come scrum time?
Sure, yeah, I think, yeah, it's gonna be a massive battle up front. But when I look, I think the Bulls. I think with Lizo and Trevor, I think Trevor is arguably one of the best scrummaging tight heads going around. And you could argue with the Sharks, in as much as Ox and Thomas are very good players. Thomas struggles now and then, especially having had to make the switch from tight head. Yes, from loose edge to tight head. Yes, he's been playing a tight head throughout the whole season. But I think sometimes it does catch up to him where technically he doesn't quite get it right. But he's a strong boy and he can look after himself. So I think there, you've got Lizo and Trevor who've done it at international level, who, they're just phenomenal. I think they're very good scrummagers from a technical aspect of things. But yeah, not to take away anything from Ox and Thomas, they've had a very good season so far. So it's going to be a good battle, but I think the Bulls just nudge it just a little.
Yeah, and I think also if you look at the bench, the Bulls, bringing on Morne Smith and Jacques Van Rooyen in comparison to bringing on Majola and Kumbarai, that experience that when if things are going well, that you can look. I mean, something like Jacques Van Rooyen, he's done everything. I mean, he hasn't necessarily done much international level, but he's been in big situations. So I think also, the experience coming off the Bulls bench is probably going to be one of their biggest assets. I mean, Arno Buerta and Boris Papier, so much experience.
100%, Steve. And I think just in terms of front rows, I mean, we can track it in history. I think the older, the wiser they become. And as you've said, with that experience, I mean, you can't really buy that. In as much as Kaya Majola and Thingy Kumbarai have shown signs this year, I think they're also on the lighter side. And they might potentially struggle, going into the latter parts of the games, which could be crucial because I think it's going to be a tight contest throughout the whole 80 minutes.
And then in terms of keeping them to matchups, so many good matchups. I think, what do you think? I mean, do you think that at this stage, given the current form, we could be seeing? I mean, if the Boks were to play this year and there was no Andre Pollard, are we seeing a potential sort of battle today between Morne Steyn and Curran Bosch to kind of sort of prove who's the best form flyer in the country?
Exactly, Steve. I think that's one matchup that could possibly sway the game in either team's side. I think Curran has been fantastic this year, and Morne Steyn has been the vintage Morne Steyn. I think Curran will be the deciding factor if he is able to control the game and get the shots playing in the right areas. I think that will be a big plus. So I think the pressure will certainly be more on Curran, but definitely there's a matchup. I think that 10 duel, whoever comes up tops, could potentially see their side through this game.
And in terms of tactics, what do you think? I mean, do you think if it is dry, the Sharks have been favouring going towards the boot and trying to put it high with a lot of good kick chasing and then trying to keep it open? Do you think they'll try and employ a more sort of open game than the Bulls and see if they can try and just sort of almost outrun the Bulls? Or do you think given the fact that it's final rugby, they'll be a little bit more, maybe a bit more conservative and maybe not trying to run it as much?
Sure. I think it'll be a shame, and I think it's not in Sean's DNA as the Sharks coach to play the more conservative game. And I think having watched the Lions and Bulls game last week, you could argue that the Sharks are better off trying to shift around that Bulls pack because it's a heavier pack. And when we look at the back three versus the back three of the Sharks versus the back three of the Bulls, I think definitely the up and under high pressure sort of, high intensity game could possibly be to the Sharks' advantage. Because when you look at the back three of the Bulls, yes, Creel is secure under the high ball, but Jacobs is not tested. Aaron's a fantastic ball player. But in the air, I think I'd back Sbungosi against him. Fuss is terrific in the air. Pengla is terrific in the air. So I think I don't see them shying away from that. So mixing it up in terms of the high kicks, but also trying to shift the ball around, because I think that's when you've seen the Sharks at their best. But equally, I think the Bulls. Yeah, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think being a Lions fan, when you watch the Lions when they got to sort of play off rugby, And for me, there was a semi-final, and it was against the New Zealand side, and I want to say it was the Highlanders. I think it was the year that we had the home final where we actually, I think it was like a 40 point scoreline, but where for once the Lions just went into a semi-final and thought, you know what, stuff the fact that it's a semi-final, stuff the fact that suddenly we must go and be conservative. We've gotten to this position. We finished top of the log because we just played a very loose, exciting brand of rugby. So we're going to do that in the semi-final, and it worked for them. So, yeah, I agree. I think it would be very sad if the Sharks were to be more conservative because it doesn't play to their strengths. And I want to see somebody like Lukanya, Marius Lowe, Spoon Corsi get as much time on the ball as well. I mean, especially Apeleta Fassi, somebody who's so good at counter-attacking. And then, in terms of the Bulls, what do you think their game plan? Do you think just the stock standard, try and hit them on the front foot and just sort of grind them away over the game?
Sure. Yeah, Steve, just before I go to the Bulls, maybe you did touch on Marco when you were doing the lineups. And I think, I would love, as a Sharks, like if I'm favoring the Sharks, get the ball to Lucanio, expose the outside channel and see how Marco adapts. But in terms of the Bulls and how the Bulls will play, set piece time. I think that's how they've sort of dominated, and the resurgence, they've gone back to their blueprint, which is forward-dominated, good tactical kicking. But I think they've got an ability to also throw the ball around with Cornell at the center, who I think has been fantastic, and also having Jacobs and Aronsa on the wing. So I think it's going to be very much in the first half in particular, grind it out, hit it up front, and then possibly in the second half we can see them opening up a bit. But I don't see them moving too far away from what has worked for them in the past sort of year.
Yeah. But what I must say, what I quite like what I've seen from Jake White is the fact that he's rewarding form. And Sintu Manjezi hasn't played as much rugby as some of everybody else, but I thought he was terrific last weekend, especially at the lineouts. I think he had 2 or 3 really, really good line takes. And I think that, he's somebody who moved to the Bulls, and I always thought that game time might be something quite difficult for him to find, but he's sort of made himself undroppable with his performance last week, And are we seeing something which is a little bit different, where Jake White is willing to maybe let a bit of bulk go and reward form?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think just on Sintu, I've been a fan of Sintu since high school. Personally, having played against him where Walsh was still at St. Andrews. A fantastic player. Also saw him at the Cheetahs. And I think the nice thing with Sintu that we saw also a bit from Jenkins is the ability to sort of get around the pitch. Especially with ball in hand. So it's definitely been something different. He's brought something different instead of that hard-hitting, just set piece, big, bulky player. I think Sintu has also then brought into the team that sort of high rate, high work, and the ability to also play should the time come. So, yeah, I think it's a fantastic move from Jake. As you've said, Sintu is also fantastic come line out time. So, yeah, I think him against JJ Van der Merch and Ruben could also be a very, very good matchup.
Yeah, and one I'm really looking forward to is the 2 loose trios, because Ulrich Lowe has benched Arno Buerta, which that in itself is incredibly impressive. Marco van Staden, probably the form number 6 in the country, but Dylan Richardson, such a confrontational player, and all the build up between him and is Dwayne going to have a final word after their bit of confrontation during the matchup? Which player out of the loose trio are you particularly excited to watch today?
Yeah, I think the eighth man versus the 8th man duel is one, it's got me excited, certainly. One could argue the incumbent but we won't get into that, Steve. But I think, Thor, it's finals time. We know what sort of performance to expect from him. It's just a matter of will Noche be able to step up and play the rugby that he's been playing, to be fair to him, throughout the season. And yeah, as you said, with the loose trio, I think Van Staden has been fantastic. I think, comfortably for me at least, the best flank in the competition so far, followed shortly by Nzila. But if I had to choose between the 2 trios, I think the Bulls are just more balanced. They played more, I think, minutes together. But as you've said, Dylan Richardson, Noche, Fenta, I think they very good players, very good players. So it's going to be interesting to see how that duel, how the duel plays out, Steve.
Yeah, and it's actually just ridiculous when you think that they're then going to add somebody like Marcel Coetzee into the mix. So I mean that loose
Exactly.
trio is just childish. Right, well, about 5 minutes
Yeah.
to go, so I'm going to let you go and get comfortable and stuff like that, and then we'll catch up with you at halftime.
Okay, sweet, Steve.
Cool.
Check
Cheers,
you
John.
later.
Yeah, we'll see you in 40.
Cool.
Right, Lakonyo Chongweni there. In the fans' voice, something I've been wanting to add to the sort of the videos for a while now, and what I'm thinking of doing is maybe starting a Discord channel, and we can start chatting more about this sort of during the week, and then we can try and get more fans on the actual show and try and get more opinion, because at the end of the day, the entire point of Forever Sports is to be for the fans, by the fans. You know, I'm a rugby fan, everybody watching is a rugby fan, and we want to try and get as many different opinions as we can. Welcome, Darren. Good luck for today for the Sharks. Good to have some of the viewers that we've had all competition. And yeah, please do smash a like on the video. Not long till kickoff. The teams are about to come on. We're about 4 minutes away. I'm so excited about this game. I'm hoping that the rain stays away. Look, I'm in Johannesburg, and there is a little bit of a pitter-patter of rain. There is some thunder in the area, but hopefully it stays clear of Loftus, and we can have a dry game, because the last thing you want to do is see a slippery ball, lots of mistakes and lots of set pieces. Although as a Bulls fan, you'll probably almost want that in many ways, because I think the more set pieces the Bulls have today, the better they're going to do. But yeah, so in terms of score predictions, I think I said Bulls by 5 in the preview, and I think I'm going to have to stick with that, I suppose. Can't really go back on myself. We are backing, well, not backing, I suppose. We are going Bulls by 5. So, last few minutes to get your score predictions in. So check them in the comments there, and we'll use them towards the end, see if anybody was close. And yeah, please do smash a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Want to try and get as many people on here as possible. The last game of the Currie Cup, it's been so much fun meeting various different people. Yeah, I said, we've got Darren there. He's a Sharks fan, always here every week. I'm sure Jan's probably watching. Big Bulls fans, so good luck to him. The Kanya leads out the Sharks. What a big game is in store for him. And I think that being touted as a potential future Springbok captain he's going to have a big game today. But yeah, hopefully it'll be a big performance by him. And then Curran Bosch, another one who, for me, has done enough to earn a recall to the Springboks. With the teams ready to come out, I think it's time to pop the first beverage. I've had to dig these up from the garden, bury them, and do lots of various things to ensure I didn't drink it before there. So to Daniel Behrens, who I was speaking to the other night and was saying how he misses booze, this one's for you, chap. And no, we're not going to be downing it. These are prized goods. We can't afford to be downing any drinks. We've got to relish every sip we can get, because we don't know when else we're going to be able to restock. And the Bulls now coming out. I mean, the matchups on display today are going to be terrific. When you think of Dylan Richardson versus Marco van Staden, Dwayne Vermeulen versus Sequimos and Noche, you know, Curran Bosch, Mornay Steyn, even Jaden Hendrickse versus Ivan van Sale should be a really good clash. You know, so I think this is about right. I think the Lions have had some really good moments, but I think given their semi-final performance, probably didn't deserve to get into the final itself. So I think that it's a fair reflection of the competition that these two teams, who in the last 12 months have been the best sides in South Africa. You've got the Sharks, who were really good in Super Rugby. And you've got the Bulls, who have been really good in Super Rugby Unlocked. So, Jaco Paper, AJ Jacobs, and Griffin Colby are the referees today. Marius van der Westhuizen is the TMO. Please, Jaco, give us a good game. We do not need a poor officiating today, because that's been the case the entire competition. The national anthem's underway, so we're just a few minutes away from kickoff. So get your score predictions in. The last 80 minutes of Currie Cup until the end of the year. And after this, it's going to be a bit of a break for South African rugby, so let's try and enjoy this while we can. Loftus looking reasonably dry, which is hopeful. It'll be interesting to see how the field actually handles the scrums, and whether it's going to be wet on the foot, and how well they're going to manage to get a bit of grip. Because I think scrums wise, the Bulls will be prioritizing that, and if it gets slippery and it becomes difficult to scrum, then that might be a bit of a get out of jail free card for Sharks. So many small little battles, which I think are going to creep in over the game. Right, so Darren's going Sharks by 8. Hasn't put the money on them, but he's backing them. And then we've got TD Rex Gaming says Sharks 2015, 25-19 Bulls. Yeah, I think it is going to be a case of the Bulls to slow poison. They're not going to want to accelerate this game. They're going to take this game set piece by set piece, small battle by small battle, and they'll just grind the Sharks down. The Sharks, however, I think will be the more likely team to score. Got far more attacking talent, in my opinion. And as the Kanyo alluded to in the pre-game chat, I think Marco Jansen and Furen is going to be targeted this game. And if I was the Kanyo, I'll be looking up and saying, listen, have you played any? I mean, before last weekend, pretty much hasn't played any minutes at outside center this season. So, yeah, I reckon they'll target him. A lot of smiles, a lot of emotion there. You can see, I mean, Cornell Hendricks, from playing club rugby, his career looked like it was over. Went to club rugby, earned himself a recall, and now was a major part of the Bulls getting into the Currie Cup final. You can see how much it means to him. That is a really nice comeback story. You know, after playing Springboks and then a hard condition, almost ended his career, and he's back to playing the premier match in South African rugby, really. Anthems are out of the way, and we are about to have kickoff. As Bulls kicking off, they're playing right to left. So let's make sure we don't miss out on the timing of the clock. We've got a Bulls by 23 points. I'll be very impressed if that's the scoreline. I think finals are typically a very close encounter. So look, I mean, I'm hoping that we're going to see some tries and some good rugby, but I'll be very surprised if we're going to see one of these sides run out by a margin of 23. See, Bulls by 1. That's probably going to be something a bit closer to the truth. I think it's going to be a tight game. And we've got kickoff there in the Currie Cup final, and it goes very high in the air, and Noche is very safe underneath. One of the big battles today, Noche versus Dwayne Vermeulen. And we know how good Dwayne is in final rugby. You only have to move back about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. About 1.5 years back to this Rugby World Cup final where he was the man of the match, and he is tested early, and there it is. Just doesn't get that wrong. But we're not seeing the Bulls kick here, and Cornell Hendricks immediately finds a gap. So is that a sign of intent by the Bulls? Yeah, Bulls looking to keep it alive. Not looking yet to go to the boot, which is interesting. I thought they'll go to the boot quite early and try and sort of see if that's looked almost a counter ruck, but Trevor Nyakane gets it back. So good to see Trevor back and fully fit. Such a big fan of him, such a nice character, one of those players you can't not like somebody like Trevor Nyakane. Loves his rugby, a very good player. And good to see him playing up to his best. The Bulls do go to the boot there, and it's an early test for Curran Bosch, who fields it well. So the Sharks inside their own half, but get possession. And now Jaden Hendricks, I'm sure, will return the favour. He was very good last weekend and has earned his spot today. Morne staying now. There we go. Very good tape. But Henko Fenter's over the ball. He does miss it, though. Johan van Zyle's kick is charged down. Dylan Richardson cleans up, though. And there we go. Jaden Hendricks, a bit of a chip over the top. He's going to try and find touch. It might be too far, though. Yeah, it's run into the touchline area there, and we're going to have a restart on the 22. So, yeah, a bit of an error there from Jaden Hendricks, but early days. And there we go, yeah. So we have already seen a bit of a kicking battle. I think it will look, the field does look very soft. We're seeing a lot of boot marks already from a couple of rucks. So I do think the field is going to be soft. And if that's the case, the scrum battle, which should be an epic one, might be a bit of an anticlimax. But let's wait and see. Okay, a bit of an injury there, but now we're restarting with a 22, and Morne puts it pretty high within his own half, something to contest for. JJ van der Mesh goes up, but he doesn't win it, and Sintaman Jezi wins it. Now the Bulls try and spread it. Well, Hendricks chips ahead. It's well tracked though by Yapenke. Some nice tempo so far early in the game. Lots of running, lots of getting to the rucks quickly. It looks like both sides are up for it so far. It has only been 2 minutes. And we've got an early knock-on. So here we go. The first set piece of the day. Yeah, so let me know if you'd like the content of a Discord chat where we can discuss teams and stuff like that during the week. Try and get more fans onto the show on the weekends. We want to try and start some fan forums and stuff like that. I mean, we've got a long off season ahead of us. I think no rugby until about April for South African sides. I suppose only 2 months. I mean, it's the end of blooming January already. So I think fans-wise, I think we're pretty split in the comments, to be honest. I'm seeing a lot of Bulls predictions not coming in, but the early ones were Sharks. So I think that we are pretty evenly split in terms of who's backing who as we line up for the set piece. Oh, goodness. I think I'm just going to stick to doing football because rugby timers are just a complete stuff up. Front row weights, 342. The Sharks to 331 for Bulls. So Sharks slightly heavier, but that won't really matter because I think that the Bulls technique-wise are superior when it comes to scrummaging. But a big game for something like Oxen Chair up against World Cup winner Trevor Nyakane. And let's see if we're actually going to get a decent scrum. Now it's gone straight down and we have a reset. So in terms of scrum position, we're looking towards the far right, just inside the Bulls half. So it's, wouldn't say it's an attacking scrum, it's pretty much in the middle of the park. If you want to watch the game in South Africa, it's only available on SuperSport or DStv now. If you're streaming it overseas, I've got no idea where the streaming sites are. I know that Sky Sports was showing it on YouTube, but I don't think that they are. So yeah, if you're international, I'm not sure where you can. This could cement Ox as the beast replacement. Yeah, well, I mean, in the open play, I think he's terrific. Lees was another one though, so I think that battle today between the two could be for who will be the next sort of who will take the place of the beast. I mean, obviously you have Stephen Kitsov starting at this rate, but who will be on the bench at loose head? And we've got the scrum's going straight down. It is available though, and I think we're going to see a lot of that because it is very wet underfoot, and it's a big kick. Oh, that's bounced favorably. It's come back. I played it fast. He's had to clean up, but it's a good carry from him. And the Sharks have pinned back to about the 22. Yeah, very upsetting not to see Steban Gans. Him and Wandisile similarly are probably the two Form 13s in the competition. And after being ruled out last weekend, I was hoping he was going to be able to sort of fix that hamstring strain, but Jake White not taking any chances with that one. But he's a very big miss. And I think Marco Janssen van Vuren is going to have a lot to prove. Hasn't played a lot of rugby at outside centre. Hasn't played a lot of rugby this season. He's been on the bench a lot. I actually don't know how many starts he's actually had. Unfortunately, I cannot show the game. It's against copyright law, so please don't ask me that. The entire channel could be flagged and taken down as a result of that. So, fortunately, can't show the game, but hopefully this is the next best thing. We will have a scorecard, which will be up to date throughout the game. And there we go, the first penalty. Yeah, so here we're going to have Currien Bosch will have his first kick at goal. It is within the Bulls half, so distance is not going to be an issue. Pretty much in the middle of the park, slightly towards the right, so there should be a fairly simple chance for Currien Bosch. Yeah, Marco van Staden goes over the ball legally, but the tackler hasn't had a chance to roll, which just completely nullifies the counter-rack. Darren saying we can only continue the 6-2 split if we find a replacement for France Day. And who's the form utility back in SA right now? Well, look, I suppose you've got Kerwin, who has played a lot of rugby at fullback. Damien Willemse could fill into that spot when you think that he can potentially. I would actually like to see Damien Willemse at inside centre. And if he can cover inside centre and fullback and fly half if we really need him to, then not a bad option. I just worry about his kicking. But you got Currien Bosch. I agree. We do need to try and find our Francois Steyn replacement. As Currien Bosch lines us up. Big game for him. Kicked so well in the entire tournament. And that is straight through the middle. No issues there. And the Sharks take first blood early on, just within the first 10 minutes. They did this against the Western Province, where all they did was try and get to a decent position, win a penalty. Curran Bosch, 3 points. Thank you very much, and we'll move on. A fantastic strike, kicking so nicely at the moment. Then we're saying Dale produced a brilliant play, and Fassi has great potential for coming years and could play for SA in the future. Well, I think if there wasn't any COVID and we played Test match rugby last year, I think he could very well have been in the box squad in Super Rugby. He was probably the best 15 in the country at the time. So we're going to see him versus WATCHALONG as the big sort of fullback battle in the coming years. Sharks have managed to regather the kickoff, which is always a good start. I always think it's very frustrating when you, after scoring points, you can't regather the kickoff, but they have, and Curran Bosch now goes to the boot. The big tester for Mornay Stay. It's a good take, but he does drop it on the ground. Bulls still have it about the halfway line. And Ivan van Zyl. And we've got a penalty advantage for the Bulls on the halfway line. So Mornay Stay tries to turn them. A good kick, but they're going to come back for the penalty. Right, so decision time. We've got a penalty inside the Sharks' half, about the centre. So this could be Mornay Stay's chance to try and level up the scores. Discipline, discipline, discipline. That's going to be the theme of the day. I reckon the team whose discipline is the best will probably come out on top today. Because when you've got people like Mornay Stay and Curran Bosch on the field, a penalty a penalty inside the own half is basically just gifting the opposition 3 points. I remember when these two sides last met, Mornay Stay missed that penalty right at the end, which would have drawn the game. So he'll have a little bit of a point to prove, but in terms of experience, it doesn't get much more experience than Mornay Stay. I was watching a clip of the penalty he kicked against the British and Irish Lions, and pressure is not something that's in his vocabulary. Career kicking success rate of 81%. More than a decade on from when he was playing for the Springboks, and he strikes it well, it goes off to the right. Well, that's a big shock, and that won't be what he'll want. I mean, the strike was good enough, had the distance, but sort of crept down to the right. Wasn't his best kick at all. And that Sharks get away with something there, because that could have been 3-3. Yeah, I think Lucanio alluded to it in the morning in the pre-game chat, where he said that Curran Bosch could be a massive deciding factor. Curran Bosch kicks well today. That's going to keep the Sharks in the game. Good take there. Ooh, that's a good hit as well. The rush defense there, and the Bulls have knocked it on. Did it go forward? Yeah, there we go. See, this is why I say the Sharks look up. I mean, look, both sides look up to it, but the Sharks, bit of a rush defense, putting a lot of pressure on Marco Jansen-Ferreira. That's an early mistake. This is why I said I would target him all game long. Hasn't played a lot of rugby at outside centre. Look, it's a horrible pass. But yeah, not a great pass here from Ivan van Zyl. And the Sharks up very, very quickly. So they've got a scrum inside the Bulls' half, down towards the near touchline. First scrum kind of just went down with it being so wet. So hopefully a bit of a chance to actually have a decent scrum here. But I think we're going to struggle with scrums today. It is very wet. It's rained all week. So yeah. Yeah, I think that makes a good point there. The Bok game plan needs a crash ball spacious to 12. Many to choose from, all playing in the UK. Yeah, you've got Dale Lindy, you've got Esther Hazen, you've got Rowan Jansen van Rensburg, who's playing some very nice rugby for sale. There are some big insides overseas. I'd like to get more of them back, and hopefully with the Sharks, see, once again we've got a scrum penalty actually. That's against the Bull. That's a huge victory for the Sharks. This is probably in Curran Bosch's range as well. Have to wait and see what happens there. Yeah, Lizon Goboka goes straight down onto his knees as it hits. So that's a big victory, early victory for Thomas du Toit. And Curran Bosch has asked for his tee, and he's going to try and double the advantage here. So far, all Sharks, who look very much up for the game at the moment. Please do smash like on the video. Let's see if we can try and get to 50 likes before half time. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in for the last game of the Currie Cup. It's been a lot of fun covering this with everyone. Right, so the kick is 51 meters on the angle. Not the easiest kick. Distance won't be an issue, we know this. So as long as he's got his line correct, which he has most of the tournament, this could very well be 6-0 to the Sharks. Taking his time here. Goes off to the right. So that's 2 missed kicks early here. A bit of nerves maybe playing up. It wasn't a bit of a difficult kick. Probably more difficult than Mornay Stame. It wasn't a great effort. Quite well to the right. So, yeah, so already 6 missed points. 3 penalties. And I think the Sharks will take a lot of confidence out of winning that scrum penalty. I think, you know, historically the Bulls scrum has been so good. That is going to be a huge battle there. And if the Sharks can get an upper hand, then that could definitely swing the tide in their favor. I think they've got the better back line. And if they can get scrum advantage, then that will be massive. A lot of rugby being played around the halfway line here, which will suit the Sharks because any penalties there. Having said that, the Bulls win a penalty and it's inside the half. So Mornay Stame will have a chance to redeem himself. And this is what I said. Discipline, discipline, discipline. Right, so big decision here. Bulls, yeah, they are going for poles. I was about to say, Mornay Stame almost shaping up his kick for the line, but he didn't. Eventually points to the poles. Right, so it's a massive effort there by Albert Lowe, who holds Fenter up in the tackle and eventually goes down and gets straight over him. So, I mean, it takes a lot to bench somebody like Arno Buerta. So credit to Albert Lowe, who's been terrific all season. And I mean, it's going to be such a big competition for places. You've got Marcel Coetzee coming into the side. You've still got Nizam Carr, who's on the fringes as well. Right, so Mornay Stame went off to the right in his first kick. This is more central. No excuses to miss this one. And that creeps into the right and side there. So the Sharks are on the board, 3-3. Wasn't the most convincing kick, but the main thing is that it went through it went through eventually. And we got 3-3 in the early stages. A couple of penalties, 6 points missed already. So, yeah, very even contest so far. Ring saying, who do you think is a better fullback for the Sharks, Villy or Fassi? I don't see why you would replace Fassi. I think you're looking at one of the next. That's a big mistake there from Curran Bosch, who kicks it out in the full. Yeah, I mean, I think you got Upperly Fassi, who's a Springbok in the making. So I wouldn't bring in Villy. I think for the Sharks, if I were to bring in players to the Sharks, I would bring in an inside centre, and I would go and look at Rohan Janssen from Redsburg, and I'd bring in a hooker, and I would go to Joseph Dweba overseas and say, come, how about you fancy a move back to South Africa, come to Durban and come play hooker? Because I think Joseph Dweba was a huge loss to SA Rugby, and I think he wants to stay. He spoke about how he felt he was a bit disrespected by the Cheetahs contract offer. So I think if you can match what he's earning in the UK, I think he'll come back here, and he'll be a huge player to bring back. Right, so scrum on the halfway. Listen, William, I'm all for Buffalo rules if we were allowed to go and buy a booze, but given the fact that these are the last 3 beers until we can buy again, I'm not going to be downing anything today. Maybe if the Lions were playing and I was really involved. It's a big scrum there by the Sharks who completely turned the Bulls. It will be a reset though, but hang on, that's very unexpected. An oxen chair whilst lying on top of Trevor Nyakani having a lot to say. Right, so another reset here. Scrums, I think, as I said, I think scrums, given how wet it is, it's going to be, yeah, a horrible scrum day. Possession, 42% to the Bulls, 58% to the Sharks, so very even so far. And I was thinking about the Bulls is if they are struggling scrum time, I think they do have the better props to come on, or at least the more experienced props. And as Lukanya in the pre-game chat alluded to, the older loose front rows get, the better they are. And that's come off Jaco Paper, who's in the way of the pass, and it'll be a Bulls scrum. Although we did finally kind of almost see a half a scrum. It's just going to be so messy. You can see the field's being ripped up below. They're going to have to shift a lot of scrums, I think, today, and I think it's going to be very difficult. So reset here, because when Van Panzel eventually got the ball out, passed straight into Jaco Paper, who was probably not the best position, but had a bit of a quip to Jaden Hendricks, so telling him what to do, saying, settle down, chap, this is your first Currie Cup final. This is Jaco Paper's 5th Currie Cup final. They're starting to enter the history books in terms of one of the most experienced referees in the country. He's definitely the best referee that we've got by a long way. And I think in a tournament where the officiating's been pretty poor, to be honest, it's good to see that we've got something like Jaco Paper in the reserves. Right, so I have to shift the scrum a little bit, and you can see that the field's just being torn to shreds by the boots at the moment. Looks like a better hit though. And it's a great contest. We've got the Bulls are on the front foot. They've got the advantage. What are you saying? Yeah, it's an advantage. It's a bit of a gap. He Van Panzel, but he leaves it behind. And there was no... No, but I lied. There was an advantage. There was a knock on there. So it will be a Shark scrum. That was a huge scrum. I mean, this it looks very even, I must say. As the first shove came through half from the Sharks, then the Bulls counted, and eventually it went straight up. So not too much to separate the two front rows at the moment. Very uncharacteristic for Van Panzel. He drops it, almost knocks it on, and when he's trying to pick up from the base of the scrum, and then just drops it as he's running. So gives the ball back to the Sharks. And I think if this scrum battle continues, it very much looks like whoever's got the puts and is going to get a reasonable opportunity to get the ball out. Doesn't seem to be too much giving at the moment. Right, so the Sharks do get it out, and Spoon Corsi gets a rare chance with the ball. 23 minutes tries to go over, and Markup and Staden Sunny back in, but he has missed it and given away a penalty, and that's poor. That's poor. And the Bulls concede a penalty inside their half. Markup and Staden guilty for being offside there at the ruck. And this will be another opportunity for the Sharks to try and take the lead. Remembering that both players have already missed a kick, one each. So there has been 6 points missed. Yeah, so the penalty was offside. I think they're saying that it sort of came from the side. A bit of a weird one. The ruck did look like it was formed. Didn't quite come through from the side, so... Something about foul play on the mic there. I don't know if they're having a check. But Curran is lining up his 3rd attempt. Gotten one and missed one. He's connecting it well. Just the direction was the issue in the last one. Then say Rusty must be happy watching these front rows at work. Oh yeah, there's a lot of talent in the front rows at the moment, especially at loose here. When you think you've got Lizor, Stephen Kitsoff, and Oxen Chair. And he's done it again. He's gone off to the right. So Nerve's playing a bit of a part with Curran Bosch. He's missed 6 points already. The Sharks should be 9-3 up here, but that's 2 kicks from a similar position that he's just pushed off to the right, which is very uncharacteristic for him. But hey, finals do some strange things, eh? Lots of nerves. And the 22 dropout just lands in the middle of nowhere and goes out into touch in the Sharks' half. So not the greatest patch to play our Sharks after missing the penalty and then not being in position to retake that 22. So the Sharks have a line out. I don't think we've had a line out, have we? And Sintu Manjezi wins it. I said so. I said he's very good at line out time, and he's won the line out for the Bulls. And Cornel Hendricks now goes on for a run. Bad use of the Bulls that I think he is. No, he's fine. Yeah, it looked like he was carrying a bit of a knock there, but he is up and going. I mean, Sintu Manjezi is someone who's used to... man, that's poor. Bulls had an advantage, so they'll have a penalty. So Mornay Steyn will now have a chance to have a go. Sharks guilty of being offside there. But yeah, I was saying about Sintu Manjezi that he's someone who moved to the Bulls, and I must admit, when he did move, I appreciated the ambition, but I did think he might struggle for game time. But was fantastic in the semi-final and just won that line-out there. He's a huge line-out specialist and a very good player to have around because he gets around the park. You know, I mean, Bulls characteristically always sort of have very big locks. And I mean, you look at Steenkamp, and Jake White said in the press conference that he said to the journalist, he said, "You know me, I want the biggest players in the country at my union." He said, I want grunt, I want physicality, which is why he usually does have very, very big players. But Sintu Manjezi, maybe not necessarily the Jake White mold, but he's proving his worth and he's earned a spot. Right, so can Mornay Steyn match CURRIE and do one better? If I'm not mistaken, the last final Mornay Steyn would have been at the Bulls, would have been the Super Rugby final. Straight in front, it goes straight through the middle, and the Bulls take the lead. So it's 6-3 after 23 minutes. And territory-wise, we're pretty much seeing that all comes down to Sintu Manjezi, who then goes over, winning that line out and winning possession back. Oh, no, don't do this. Right, so they are heading off. Lightning is the call. This is what we didn't want to see. So we've got players suspended from lighting. So let me see if we can try and get a bit of a notice up there. Maybe see if we can try and get the Kanya back on the fan chat. Right, so that's the situation. Lightning has suspended play. So the players head back. Yeah, I did wonder. I mean, it's a bit gloomy here, so this could be an issue. Look, thankfully we're seeing. I mean, you're seeing some clouds there, but there is some light there. So hopefully it'll move over and we can return. But yeah, the players head into the change room. It's currently 6-3, 24 minutes. Territory-wise, very 50-50. Possession-wise, also 50. Right, so let's see if we can sort out a message there. Right, and just try and sort out. There we go. Right, so Lightning has suspended a player, which is the last thing we wanted. There's always an issue with playing rugby at this sort of time of the year. But just typical, we haven't had too many storms or lightning the entire week. We've had a lot of rain, but not too much lightning. And then on the day, of course, we have to have that. So I'm going to see if we can try and get Lacanya back on the mic. So it's a bit of a weird one. I haven't seen them go off yet in the first half. We have seen, traditionally, games have been called off with the current scoreline, which would be incredibly rough if they do it after just 24 minutes. I mean, they did it after about 50 minutes, I think, against the Greek, or was it in the Lions? I think the Lions against the Greek was in Kimberley. They went off with the Lions had just taken the lead in about 51 minutes. So the ruling has genuinely been that they can't continue there, take the scoreline as it is. But it will be very harsh if it's 24 minutes. So I'm not entirely sure what the protocol will be, but hopefully it'll move over and we can try and get the game back on. So in the meantime, please do smash a like on the video. Trying to get to 50 before the before half time, which could be a while now. But funny enough, if Currien Bosch had slotted, look, I mean, it could be 9-9. Probably should be 6-6 at least. I think Currien Bosch has kicked pretty poorly after that first effort. And as Dad said, he'll be lynched if it's called over this stage. Yeah, look, I mean, it wouldn't go well. Okay, I'm going to try and get Lacanya back on here. We're going to have a bit of a chat. So if you have any questions, anything like that, chuck them in the comments and we can discuss that as we wait for play to resume. Yeah, the Bulls' Bronze game was also called off, but again, that was also in the second half. And as you say, the Bulls were all over them. So I'd like to think that they'd reschedule the game if it is called off. But yeah, I don't know what the official ruling is. I can't see how you can call the game after 24 minutes. So yeah, I mean, I'll try and find out. I don't think it's official sort of protocol about it in the first half. But yeah, so we've got Lacanya here. We're going to chat about this, just try and get him in here. John, can you hear me? There we go. So after all the hype, after all the anticipation, and we got 24 minutes and we're back in the bin. No, well, I mean, literally, it's an horrendous situation, but an interesting 24 minutes to be fair. And I think the biggest thing for me, and we'll start there, is the scrum battle. Doesn't look as one-sided as we thought, and I think weather conditions probably playing quite a big part in that.
Yeah, like it's going to be an interesting battle. But one thing I'll say is, with Ox and Thomas being so strong, they do tend to be able to look after themselves in the first half. And I think the issue comes in when the fatigue starts to kick in. That's when then the techniques at least get exposed. So it's going to be interesting to see it about the 10 minutes after halftime. But now obviously they've gotten a break, so I'd expect they'll be able to last a bit longer than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, who would have thought that a game could, well, the determining factor of the game could be the fact that they're going to have basically two breaks. You know, I mean, they're going to come back, play 60 minutes of rugby, and then they'll have half time. So, as I said, that could actually suit the Sharks, because it means they'll get a lot more time to rest than they would have thought. But yeah, and then apart from that, I think are we seeing some nerves from Currien Bosch?
Like, listen, it's 2 in the bounce now. That is missed. I was even surprised that Morningstate missed the kick. But yeah, I mean, finals footy can't be easy. So it could be the case. but hopefully he's able to sort of bounce back and make up for those missed kicks. Because if the Sharks stand any chance of winning this game, they need to take those sort of small victories and convert into points.
I mean, and how detrimental do you think this is for his career if Curran does continue to struggle like that throughout the game? I mean, we talked about the fact that he's on the brink of a Springbok call up.
Sure.
If we're showing now that the nerves can show, does that suddenly maybe hamper his chance of being called up?
Sure. I personally think Curran Bosch has been in a situation where he's had to win the game, the last kick of the game, too many times for us to sort of forget about that and, base how good it is, or if he's able to deal with pressure purely on this. Obviously, playing up against Morningstein could potentially bring out more, a bit more nerves. It could, I'd imagine as a fly-off growing up in South Africa, Morningstein is pretty much your idol. But I don't think so. Obviously, you don't want him to have a bad final, but I don't think it would be that detrimental. I think he's done fantastically well throughout the season to at least be considered and form part and parcel of the box setup.
Yeah. No, I think so as well. But look, I mean, we talk about discipline and being able to rise into a final. And I think also along with those two misses, he also had that kickoff was straight to touch. So a bit of a nervy start. And I thought that when he had slotted that first one so easily, I thought, here we go, Curran's really come to play. But I think both sides look reasonably up for it so far.
Yeah, the Sharks look, they're ready to go, man. Whatever Sean told them in the changing room seems to be working. They're fantastic. This line speed has been incredible. And I think that's one way to sort of, because we haven't seen Morningstein being able to get Cornell Hendricks going, at least with space. And I think that's had a big, it's played a big part so far in the game. So I think the Sharks have gotten out the blocks much quicker with that high press on D. But yeah, equally balanced game so far, yeah.
I mean, do you think with that sort of high press and they do play such a quick brand of rugby and they try to enforce themselves, especially early on, playing at the high fault, do you think that the Bulls, if they can just sort of stick within that, even if the Sharks get a bit of momentum, the Bulls can sort of stick, I mean, that's what the Lions used to do, sort of stick within that sort of 5 to 10 point gap, and those last 10 to 15, when the Sharks start sucking oxygen and the altitude starts coming in, then suddenly, especially the physicality of the Bulls pack, just try and punish them towards the end.
Sure. I think that has a lot to do with it, but I also look at the Sharks bench. I think the reason why Sanelo Nohamba, for example, started on the bench this game is what he's going to be able to add off the bench. If we look at the impact that Boli has had throughout the tournament, I think it's also been massive. So I think with the break right now, if the game was still on, you could potentially say the high fault air. It could cause the Sharks to suck in a bit more air. But I think with this break, with who's on the bench, I think it sort of nullifies that. But certainly it can't be easy playing up in Joburg in a high intensity pressure game. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
I mean, conditions wise, as we said, I mean, it doesn't look like it's raining there, but it does look very, very wet underfoot. And we have seen a couple of knock-ons and a couple of handling errors already. Is there any player in particular that you think for you seems to be a bit of a weak link, or seems to, or else on the other hand, any player in the first 24 minutes you think has really stood up so far?
Okay, in terms of, I think it's a bit too early to sort of judge who's sort of having a bad game. Besides Cohen, obviously you can arguably say he's sort of looking off because those kids would expect him to convert them. But in terms of general play, I think Lowe has started well. The Bulls' young flanker, I really like him. I think he's been arguably one of the finds of the season, having come from the Kings to the Bulls. Yeah, I think he's been fantastic. So yeah, I think if I had to signal out anyone, I would say most probably like Lowe, who started very well. And then Curran Bosch would be one of the players who's sort of been slow out the blocks.
Yeah, and then we've got a comment in the chat, which is by Darren. He says, also interesting to see the mental impact of the break. So often sides are completely different after half time. If you had to put your coach's hat on, you've been in the situation, you coached quite a lot. What would you be telling each camp now during this sort of break?
No, I think one of the things you don't want to do is to bombard the players with a lot of information. So I think from Sean's perspective, looking at, obviously you'd expect the Bulls playing at home to have the upper hand. But for him, if I was in Sean's boots, I would certainly be ticking off. So focusing more on the positives, line speed, making out tackles, good at the scrum. So almost like 3. If anything, in terms of work-ons, I'd probably say just, Cohen just trying to get the Sharks in the right playing areas, actually kicking the ball out. He hasn't been too bad kicking out of hand yet, but it's all been infield. And from the Bull side, as Jake White, I think it's just Mornestein. I think the Bulls have looked to try go out wide too quickly and haven't earned the right to go out wide. So I'll be telling Mornestein maybe just turn them around. They're coming with that high press. So if we could possibly just, you can even skip Cornell because Marco's got a very good left boot. Just try to turn the Sharks around, just make them doubt for a bit, so get in a bit more kicks. So I think, basically keeping it simple.
And as a player, I mean, I don't think you've ever been in this situation, but I mean, what do you do during this sort of time? It must be quite a difficult one after sort of gearing yourself up to try and play those like really hectic 40 minutes, empty a reasonable amount of the tank before half time. Now you're kind of sitting there with, you've got 24 minutes, you have a bit of a sweat, but you got to go out and now play a 60-minute, a very short of. What as a player, what are you doing here? Are you trying to stay warm, or are you just trying to like regather yourself? And how would you be passing the time?
Yeah, I think with the breakaway, it's almost the same as Varsity Shield with the strategy break, playing the quarters. And really what you want to do there is just to clarify things. Is what we had initially talked about, is it working? Yes, it's working. What can we possibly change to try to get that advantage? So keeping it to 2-3 points max. And also just from a player's perspective, just clear your head. I mean, I think it'll do the youngsters of Sharks a world of good to have this break so that they can just take the breath, and the senior players will be able to tell them that, listen, there's nothing out there. We're still matching them. Come on now. Come on. Let's see what you guys have. Show us what you guys are made of, kind of thing. So yeah, it's just again, trying to get into the blue zone in your head, just that calmness, and try and take it easy.
Yeah, I mean, again, Darren's saying it must be a very fine line. One hand, you risk losing focus, on the other hand, you risk overemphasizing, overcooking the players. I mean, it must be horrible because at least with, as you said, the Varsity Shield strat break, at least with half time, you've kind of got that period. We've got 10 minutes, and we're going to chat, and then we'll go back. But now you're kind of sitting there, you're talking about it, and to be honest, by now, I'm sure both coaches have pretty much said what they want to say. And now it must kind of just sort of be sitting there going, right, well, it must be. I'm sure a lot of them are sort of sitting there looking at each other, wondering, well, what do we do now? Because it's just sort of this sort of indefinite wait. So it must be a very weird change in vibe to be in.
No, 100%. And I think it doesn't make it easier, the fact that we aren't sure when the players will be back. Obviously, you can't predict. You can't put time to it. It's sort of, we'll wait and see. And that can be really difficult, especially in the finals, but I think from that perspective, you'd argue that the Bulls are in a better position. They've got Cornell Hendricks, they've got a Dwayne Vermeulen, and they've got a Mornestein who will be able to keep the guys sort of focused, but also equally keep them calm. But yeah, I can only imagine what the players are getting up to right now. It's probably just, just again, going through your focus areas, what each individual had to do, just trying to see how, what to do, and not try reinvent and try to do too much. So stick to your guns. You would have planned thoroughly going into the game. So maybe just reading over your goals and your plans and just trying to stay in the zone, whichever way you do as a player.
Yeah, and our team is we're going to have a bit of indefinite time to chat. You were talking about a couple. I mean, let's just talk about the Currie Cup as a whole. And some players who have stood up, and if you're looking at a Lions tour potentially being postponed to next year, or even if it happens next year, are there any sort of players that for you have impressed enough to try and warrant selection? Rassi, I mean, was pretty much saying that if we had played towards the end of last year, it would have basically been the same side as the World Cup squad, because he said it's they know the systems, they're within the setup. But are there any players who are just sort of making themselves it's impossible to ignore them from selection.
Sure. Well, I think the tricky thing with the Lions selection, especially in South Africa, is that we've got a massive contingent of players playing in Europe at the moment. So in as much as they've been standout players in South Africa, you almost have to keep those guys in sight. But I think from my perspective, picking on form sort of thing, you'd imagine Andy Santila will be at least playing for the invitational side or the SAA side come the tour. I'm thinking of Willie Engelbert, the Pumas player. I think he's fantastic, man. Listen, if you were at a bigger union, I definitely would put my money, like my savings on it, and say the man will be a buck pretty soon. I really like him. I like his physicality, his style of play. He's just, I think for Lions, especially,
Yeah, I'm saying it's funny that you had somebody like Jean Rudolph who was playing so well for the Pumas, and then now going to the Cheetahs, and suddenly Willie Engelbert gets that chance. And as you said, I mean, he's been one of the best 8-mans in the country. So, I mean, in that way, before we sort of continue, do you think that? I mean, we what I've been saying is that the problem with the SA Rugby is that we've got such 4 dominant unions, and we've got all these players playing overseas, but we've got 4 unions who are going to be playing the Pro 16, and then you've got the sort of Cheetahs. But how important are the likes of a Pumas and a Griquas for players who might not have made it at other unions? I think Willie Engelbrecht was part of the Lions squad, I think about 2 years ago, but never actually got a game. And how important is it having the likes of a Griquas and Pumas, and how do we strengthen those sides?
Yeah, no, it's massive, Steve. I mean, I think when we even look at like New Zealand, I think their strength is not so much the Super Rugby teams, but just the club system, where it's highly competitive, where players are getting the opportunity and they're getting the recognition then to play in Super Rugby, and from there, obviously, progress and graduate to the national side. So I think, they're massively important. I mean, the big 4 unions can only take in so many players. And unfortunately, how they operate, how the scouts operate, we can spend the whole day speaking about just the scouting system in South Africa, which I think is flawed. So that's when those smaller unions come in, because they are able to then pick up the players that won't necessarily make it, the players that didn't necessarily play representative for representative sides in high school, but through those unions, they're able to find expression and kickstart their career going forth. I mean, without a Kings, for example, without a Border, we wouldn't have had Lukanyo Am, we wouldn't have had Amagazola Mapimbi, for example, just from a BOG perspective. So those smaller unions play a massive role, and it's important that a Currie Cup also reaches a standard where, it's gold standard, where we know that, we're playing at such a high level that those players can easily graduate, for example, to a Super Rugby team and equally be competitive. So I think, it's massively important. I think it's massively important as well to try establish a league lower than the Currie Cup.
Yeah.
Because then what you'll find is then you've got a bigger pool, just to make sure that those who have most probably gotten through the cracks are able to play Currie Cup, strengthening then our sort of franchises. But I think it's time that as South African rugby, we move to a franchise system. I think I've been saying that to unions can deal with, unions can stay at Currie Cup level and at Vodacom or whatever that Rainbow Cup that we're trying to have. But I think it'll be nice and it'll be fruitful for South African rugby, in my opinion, to move away from unions having the big four unions, but rather having 4 franchises or 5 franchises that then draw from the various unions to make up their squads and then obviously compete in the sort of international tournaments.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I did a video, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, where I basically talked about 5 things we can try and do to fix SA Rugby, and I was saying that I get quite bored with how provincialized it all is, and as you say, with the whole unions and the fact that how can we have Cape Town or Western Cape, and you've got Stellenbosch, you've got UWC, you've got UCT, you've got 3 varsity cup sides, you've got all the Pals, you've got Wynberg, you've got so many good schools there, and then you've got the Western Province, and so you've got all that talent, and within the Western Cape, there's only one sort of side which really can go. I mean, the Western Province Rugby Institute itself has 2 different campuses, one in Cape Town, one in Stellenbosch. So how are we not moving towards a system where, I mean, how does the Western Cape not have 2 proper franchises the same way that we've got the Bulls and the Lions? You know, and you know, in places like Kimberley and stuff like that, when you look at the province stuff like that, I mean, why? And I'm not saying we shouldn't have a side in Kimberley, but you do sort of wonder if you were to even put another team in Joburg, and if there are more people, and if there are enough players, and you can sort of say, well, you can live in Johannesburg, you can get paid as much as you can to play at the Bulls and the Lions, but you can play for another side based somewhere else in Joburg. You know, I mean, you look at the Premier League and how there's like 8, 9 sides from London. You know, why are we not moving to a stage where we're not so provincialized, but more just about getting up to 8 to 10 really good sides? And I mean, you've got the top 14, you've got the Premiership. How are we not trying to do something similar with the Currie Cup eventually? I mean, obviously we don't have the sort of financial strength, but I mean, as I was saying, for the world champions to be playing, and our Premier teams are going to be playing in a league with, you know, some Italian sides, some Scottish sides, stuff like that. Not that I'm knocking the Pro 14, but you would like to think that, and if we can go into the European Cup, it'll be really good. But you'd like to think that we can try. Surely we can try eventually with, I mean, like over 800 professional rugby players from South Africa, have a 8 to 10 team Currie Cup, which is as competitive, but as high a standard as a Premiership or the top 14.
100%, 100%, Steve. And I think I am hoping that the decision that the Sharks and the route that the Sharks have taken is a start for a lot of our unions, with majority being privately owned. I think, unfortunately, we have to go there. Money is a big thing. It's been a big issue in South Africa. And I think already we're seeing guys willing to come back. So if we can get these investors, you know, coming with the foreign currency for starters, you know, we'll be able to also keep the talent. I think that's the other important thing. For us to have a strong domestic competition, it's not only about the talent that we will miss out on, guys from Poland not, you know, getting the recognition, eventually making it to province, but equally I think it would serve us well as a country to be able to keep hold of our best talent. I mean, you look at European teams, at least 2 or 3 South Africans who are their best players starting week in, week out. And just imagine if those players were in the country, they were able to mix and match and play with the youngsters as well. You know, it just makes our rugby that much better. So I'm hoping that what the Sharks have done is a start of good things, and we sort of move in that direction where, you know, there's a massive private investment in our sort of unions.
Yeah, and for me, I also, it's one thing to, I mean, the Lions are privately owned, but we just don't quite see the financial injection. I mean, I'm not quite saying that we need some sheikh to come in from the Middle East and just go and pump millions and millions and millions, but we need to see more investment. I mean, we've seen how the Bulls, between Patrice Sepe and and stuff like that, they've come in when they've put in a huge amount of money, and that's why they've got Jake White, that's why they've got Arno Buerta, Marcel Coetzee, now looking at bringing back Johan Goosen, looking back at you know, Francois Hougaard, but we're not seeing that necessarily to other unions, and I'm hoping that the Sharks, we're going to now see that in a bigger way, but they, because and look, as much as I think Siya Kolisi is a decent signing, I'd like to see him be a bit more ambitious than just a sort of Siya Kolisi. Go out to Europe and think, right, I mean, why can't, let's try and get a Cheslin Colby back down here. You know, go and find some of your best performers in Europe and bring them back to South Africa. And even to a certain degree, what about bringing some international players? You know, and a bit of, I mean, you think of something like a Freddie Michalak and how he's like a bit of a Sharks legend in all of those years. You know, why can't we? I mean, we've got a favorable time zone. We don't have a favorable currency, which is the biggest problem. But we've got a favorable time zone. We know that that academies wise and schoolboy rugby, you know, is top class in SA. You know, I just don't understand how we've got basically 4, maybe 5 decent unions, and that's it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what you get is you get talent being drawn to those franchises, and they never get game time. You know, then we end up losing because, for example, I'm thinking of like a Miller Ace. I haven't seen the man play in such a long time, but under 20 World Cup, he was dominating. I thought he's the next Dwayne Vermeulen, but you know, because there's only 4 unions, because there are limited opportunities for players to showcase their talent at such a high level, they end up being fourth, fifth, sixth choice and actually never getting game time, and that's killing them. It's killing the talent that we have. And yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. So we definitely need, I think at least, we need to sort of move away from just the 4 franchises and actually, we can easily get 9 top functioning unions with the talent equally spread with the talent, So yeah, Steve,
Yeah, it's just it's incredibly frustrating because I mean, and we've seen, I mean, the standard of rugby at like the Varsity Cup level has been sublime. And I mean that just shows you. I mean, you've got Varsity Cup, and then you've got Varsity Shield, so you've got that whole sort of setup. And I mean, there are so many players there. And then, as you say, they go to the big union. I mean, somebody like Klabakanya for the Lions, who was arguably the best player in the under-21 competition. He still has not played a game for the Lions because he's about 5th choice tight end. And I understand he's very young and stuff like that, but we see that in and I always use football as an example because it's the best sort of run sport in the world in terms of a standard wise. But why are we not being able to see more of a sort of, well, the Lions have sent this youngster to one of the other unions on loan for the season, stuff like that. I mean, we sort of see loans, and we saw Kardusari coming to the Lions, but that's an exact example how the Western Province loaned him to the Lions, and suddenly he was one of the Lions' best players, and the Lions went and bought him. I think we need to see more of that, where players don't just get stuck in a union, and that's also why I think we see some players who, I mean, I'm always sometimes surprised at some of the players that you suddenly see going overseas, who are maybe sort of playing thick and fiddle or not necessarily starting here, but suddenly they're getting a contract to go to a decent side overseas. But it just shows you how much talent we have that just doesn't play in the country.
100%, 100%. So yeah, I think it's what to do. It's really literally what to do, and I think that's where even SA Rugby can become more active in terms of just ensuring that the pool is equally spread. It's stupid how every single year it's Sharks Bulls signing 30 of the best youngsters each. We know those guys won't all be playing. Yes, they're kids. Yes, they're young. Yes, you want them to be part of an institution that, will be able to cultivate and bring out the best in them. But with any sport, you need to be playing regardless. It's practice is not good enough. The intensity, your skill set is not as tested out as when come game time. Even if you're playing for a weaker union or you're playing against a weaker team, whatever the case is, there's nothing that can replace game time. It brings about different pressures. You need to grow up very quickly as a youngster. It pushes you. It pushes you, and it puts your skill sets, under the microscope, and you just simply have to step up. And unfortunately, what we're currently seeing in South Africa is we're only seeing these players sort of break through when they're 24, 25, but they've had 6 years just chilling in the academy. Yes, playing under 19 rugby or whatever the case is now and then, under 21, but from there on, then what? Sort of thing. So yeah, I think SA Rugby needs to sort of look at it. I like what, for example, American sports, they've been able to build global brands, but it's sports that are literally just played in that country, if we're being honest. But they are able to spread the talent right across the teams, with, for example, the draft system.
Yeah,
so
I think the draft system's an interesting one.
Yeah, draft system. So you've got a scenario where now the best talented youngsters, they're not all bunched up, but they're playing against each other, different teams, and it seems to have been working for them.
Yeah, and I think, and that's why I was going to come to a point made by Darren is sort of how do you pay for this? Because it all sounds great in theory, and I think that's where, hopefully us going overseas and having a bit of pounds being put back into SA Rugby, I think that's going to be the biggest thing is how much money can we try and make from moving to the Pro 14 or Pro 16 and moving to the sort of a Europeans Champions Cup and stuff like that. Because and then as you say, but that whole sort of global brands, and I think we're starting to see it a little bit more. I mean, somebody like Sia Khaleesi is sort of breaking down those barriers when he's got this massive endorsement deal from like Red Bull, for example, and the face of Adidas. And I think, South Africa's got so much talent that, we need to try and start nurturing more of those relationships. And that's why I'm so interested to see how the Sharks are going to do with having Rock Nation. And, are Rock Nation going to be able to try and do what they've done with the sort of the whole American system, can they try and build Sharks into this big international brand? We are seeing the players out warming up, so it looks like we are hopefully have rugby in the next 10 minutes. But I mean, yeah, as you said, we can debate it for a long time. I think we must, because I just think that it's just so frustrating to see. I mean, somebody like Cornell Hendricks, who he had to go from club rugby to trying to eventually then improve to and then being brought straight back up. It's not like I think there's a very big pipeline, but I think it's we've got this very broad funnel, which then sort of comes into quite a narrow sort of. You can have all these Varsity Cup, Varsity Shield sides. You can have all this, but then when it gets to it, you've got down to what? I mean, you've got 4 teams, so that's what you've got 60 places. You know, so. I think that, and for me, the success of the Varsity Shield and the success of the Currie Cup, the fact that there's so much money that they've been able to make is because brands got involved, you know, and you know Steinhoff was in that big that obviously the big controversy, but I mean we were both at Rhodes. We knew that how much the financial injection was just by making Varsity Shield for a place like Rhodes. But I think that we need to start making, we need to globalize our rugby. You know, we need to get 100%. These huge brands. I want to see the Lions with a Nike brand. I mean, Emirates came and sponsored the Lions, but it wasn't like the money was life-changing.
Sure, 100%. Yeah, Steve, I think you hit the nail on the head there. And I think just to go back on the question of how we're going to pay for it, I think moving to Europe, yes, we're getting pounds, but I think the unions are going to be saving quite a lot, because if you think of the travel costs to New Zealand and back, and how often you have to go back and forth.
And you have to go earlier because of time zones and all that stuff.
100%, with the time zones and all of that. So we could potentially see that, in as much as, yes, we want that cash injection, but also I think our unions will also be more cash savvy in terms of, you know, cutting potential costs. I don't know the numbers. It's just an assumption that I'm making. But yeah, I think it's time for our sports in general, Steve. Not just rugby. I mean, even cricket.
Yeah.
Even football, soccer, whatever the case is. I think it's time that we actually move to a stage where, you know, we become brands. You know, the Sharks should be a brand, and as you rightly said, you know, the Lions should be sponsored by Nike. How do we get those big sort of corporate investments in our local game? You know, we've been able to do it at Cup and Shield level, surprisingly. But yeah, how do we then transcend and actually get that financial injection as we need for our unions?
Yeah, and look, I mean, Darren makes a very good point. Thanks for the chat, Darren. It's great to hear from you. He says, you know, that rugby doesn't have hours of time outs and offense, defense change, stuff like that. So it's difficult to sort of have those massive advertising opportunities. But I was reading an article the other day about how little game time is actually being played and how we've got so much line-out time, so much scrum resets and stuff like that. And, you know, do we need to try and look at ways of filling this time so that we're not just always watching resets, and that we are, I mean, when you look at like Test cricket and between overs, how there's always either an advert or a bit of analysis, something like that. And we've sort of seen things slightly in Varsity Shield. I don't know if and the people in the comments, if you've gone and watched a Varsity Shield or a Varsity Cup game, you'll see that with having the timeouts, that they're trying to do a lot of commercial things. Whether it's working, I'm not so sure. But I think that, I think it's just a little bit of creativity and a little bit of changing the mold is long overdue. Because I think we've got a bit of an archaic system in the country, and we're starting to get there, hopefully, with having these big companies come in. But I think we've got a long way to go. But Chongs, it looks like we are hopefully going to get some rugby a bit soon. So we'll leave it there, and I'll probably speak to you in about 60 minutes when we can have our halftime chat.
Okay, sure, Steve.
Cool. Thanks, Charles. We'll still chat to you now.
Okay, sure.
Kanya Chongweni there, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know if you'd be interested in having something like a Discord where we can try and get people out in the comments onto the show, and we can have a chat there. As you hear, it's so nice to have different opinions and other people who have had various experiences of the game come in and share what they think and what their experience has been. But it's a big conundrum, the whole how we're going to navigate and negotiate the future of SA rugby and the future of SA sport. But looks like we are underway, in which case I need to get the timer right. And after the lightning break, we are good. So let me remove the sign. We are back underway at Loftus. So after that very frustrating break, players underway. The situation is 6-3 to the Sharks. I'm sorry, to the Bulls. It's been so long, I've forgotten what the score was. Let me just sort out the text at the bottom there. So, unfortunately, it looks like we might actually have more stoppages. They say that, I mean, it was showing a couple of images of the storms, and it looks it's very much in and around Pretoria. So, yeah, but hopefully, I mean, at this stage, we just need to get 16 minutes in, and then we can have a 10-minute break. So, hopefully, we can try and get through to halftime. Yeah, and Dan, as you said, we are the world champs of the weak currency. If we can't get investment, nobody can. And that's the thing, because a weak currency is always going to be a limiting factor, but at the same time, it means that when you've got a company like Nike who've got the dollar, what we would consider substantial investment is not necessarily substantial investment for them because the exchange rate is so favorable. So, yeah, I just want to see bigger brands. I want to see full stadiums. You know, we need to go back to rugby being we need to globalize our game. You know, I mean, it's just frustrating that it's so much talent being the world champions and we can't quite, you know, develop this massive brand. Anyway, onto the game itself. The Bulls have got a rolling more. Then Ivan van Zyl hoists it up. So it's an early test after the break for Penke, who takes it brilliantly, by the way. Yeah, and I think with 15 minutes to go, it'll be interesting. I think for the Sharks, I'm hoping Curran Bosch did a bit of kicking in the time he had to warm up. It doesn't look like he did. But I think he needs to sort of sort out I mean, look, I understand final nerves and stuff like that, but he's going to be instrumental if they are going to win today. And Penke under the high ball once again. Not a great offload, but I think he's gotten away with it. So, yeah, 14 minutes to go. I think the Sharks will want to try and just close the gap. Get into the Bulls' half, win some penalties, try and get Curran Bosch to find the touch. Having said that, he's turned the Bulls and his kick bounced inside. Otherwise, it would have been a great touch finder. Mornestein will find touch, though, at about the halfway line from the looks of it. Great conversation. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as I said, I'd love to do more conversations. I think that there's so many different minds and opinions in and around there, and we need to have these sort of chats. And at the end of the day, you know, there must be a solution out there. I don't believe that what we've got as our current system is the only and best situation we can have. So the more conversations we have about it, the more ideas that people share, hopefully we can try and just improve SRB and make it a little bit bigger. Anyway, so in terms of the game, it's a decent... Oh, and there it is, early penalty from the Sharks. So Darren says, hope it doesn't get too scrappy. That is always the issue with having a bit of a break in plays. You can sometimes lose that rhythm. Look, Penke has certainly looked quite bright since the restart, but the Sharks have a penalty here. This will be an interesting call because it's definitely within the range of Bosch, but given the fact that he's missed these two, given that it's 13 minutes, do they maybe go for the line? It looks like the T is coming out, and Curran Bosch will once again have a chance to go for poles. Yeah, Bulls was guilty of missing the sack there. Going for and apologizing there. So Curran Bosch is going for poles. And as I said, not that this will be a defining game for Curran Bosch, but I think it's a game where if he can grab it with both hands and he can be really solid and he can, you know, find the poles and put in a big pressure performance, it has to put him on the Springbok radar. So, yeah, it wasn't the great first 24 minutes. Hopefully he can get back to his best that he has been through the entire tournament. And that looks much better. That's the Curran Bosch you've been seeing all competition. He puts it through the middle, and the Sharks are back. They move to 6-6, and that's the perfect start for them. And that will do his confidence a world of good. Because as I said, I think in that situation, as Darren says, you have to take the points, but it would have been a big, and I think in many ways he had to probably prove it to himself that he was willing to take that and go for it and not go for the line. But yeah, 12 minutes to go in the first half after that very long stoppage. So we are now already after 4 o'clock, which isn't going to help anybody's plans. But we are back on the field, thankfully, and hopefully no more interruptions until the end of the game. Good kick there, good take there from Mornestein as the Sharks regather the restart. Hendricks finds Curly Aronson. Now he's had next to nothing to do. He gets around Penke, but it's a good tackle there. And we're going back for what was a forward pass. And I think if the Bulls want to try and get their wings into play, but they need to earn the right. Currently, Arendse and Stravino Jakobs are very good finishers. And I think I would have liked to have seen more from a bit of a rough call. I think the direction of the hands wasn't forward, but yeah, I think he was very flat that Cornel Hendricks couldn't really do much about that. So we'll have another scrum here, which has been quite an interesting battle so far. And I think, as Lacania was alluding to, the fact that Oxen Chair and Thomas Dutoy have had that time to rest, that'll probably benefit them in the long run. Possession very even, 48% Bulls, 52% Sharks. So far, not much giving between the two sides. Well, thanks to that long break, we did reach our 50 like goal before our time. So yeah, if you haven't, please do smash a like. As it's a very good scrum there from the Bulls. They looked like they won a penalty, and no advantage there. So it's interesting. We've seen some very dominant scrums, but Jaco Paper not playing any sort of penalties. So it's actually a knock-on, so it'll be a reset. I mean, Bulls coming through there, but Jaco Paper saying it was all legal. I suppose it's not the worst thing to see, to be honest. Like, it's very frustrating to every single scrum suddenly becomes a penalty. But yes, but it's an interesting call because I think most of throughout the competition we haven't seen a lot of resets when there's been dominance by one side. It's just 9 times out of 10 there's just been a penalty. Right, so what was a Shark scrum is now a Bull scrum after the knock-on from Jaden Hendrickson. I think if they get that ascendancy that they did in that scrum before, then this would be a very good position to win a penalty and try and strike back immediately. And again, it looks like it's a good... Yeah, there goes the arm. So this time there is a penalty advantage. Albert Lowe gets himself up to the 10-meter line. The Bulls with a bit of forward momentum. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, there you see a bit of a chip over the top. And it's well intercepted by Upleader Fassi. Bulls, however, got it. They've gone wide. Jaco Paper's played a very good advantage. Stravino Jakobs gets up to the 5-meter. The very good advantage played by Jaco Paper here. And the Bulls now 5 meters out. Low shifts it off Cornel Hendricks. He takes that. That's a high tackle. That'll be a new advantage. It's in a much better position as well. So, all Bulls at the moment. Arendse's got some space ahead of him. He gets pulled down within a few meters. Good counteract there by Player Fassi, but Ivan van Zyl eventually gets it out, and the Sharks turn it over, and it will be a penalty. So that's some brilliant play by the Bulls, and some very good advantage by Jaco Paper as well. And the first sort of try that we've really had, and I'm sure that the Bulls will take the points here. But it was a fantastic run there by Stravino Jakobs, who hasn't had much to do, but cuts inside, and before being swamped by the Sharks, got up to the 5-meter line. And the Bulls will have a very easy opportunity now to try and take a 3-point advantage once again. With the advantage, Albert Lowe makes a very nice carry. There's a little bit of space, so Mornestein decides to chip it. And then Cornel Hendricks gets around the outside, and JJ van der Mesh desperately trying to tackle him, grabs him around the neck. No complaints there. It is a penalty. And in theory, Mornestein should start this with ease and put the Bulls back in front. Yeah, no issues there. That was the easiest one of the game. So the Bulls back in front with 7 minutes to go to half-time. Right, so for the Bulls, I reckon now it'll just be a case of get to half-time. They've got the lead. They've probably had the brightest moment of the game so far. That's definitely the closest any of the teams have come to scoring. Curran Bosch goes high and fairly deep, and it's a good take eventually by Lowe. And yeah, Ivan van Zyl saving up for the box kick. Can't go straight out to touch because they have lost the safety of the 22. It's a good chase by Curtly Arendse, who unfortunately gets out-chumped and leaves it Walker trying to pick it up a bit too low and knocks it on. So the Sharks will have a scrum inside the Bulls' half, which, if they can win a penalty, would be a very good kicking position. But it does look like that Bulls scrum dominance, which we expected at the beginning of the game and didn't really see, is starting to come through. So, yeah, but it's a big opportunity here for the Sharks. As I said, territory 52%, 48%, possession much the same. So all very even in terms of the stats, and just a slight lead for the Bulls. Looks like a bit of sun there though, which is good to see. Hopefully no more lightning or anything like that until after the game. Hendricks gets it out wide. Now, Upleader Fassie's coming through. He gets a bit of a decent run and builds some momentum. Oxen Chair, I think it's about the first time he's had to carry up. He makes a few yards. And Curran Bosch shapes up for the drop goal. And it goes away to the right. Probably a bit wasted there. I think for the first time, the Sharks actually had a bit of opportunity to try and get a bit of go forward ball. Decent position for the drop goal. And it's not the worst effort. It shapes off to the right just slightly. But, yeah, I think given the fact that they had a bit of go forward ball, I would have liked to have seen them keep that in hand. So all they've done is given the possession straight back to the Bulls, who will now start with a 22-meter. Oh, that should be a penalty. Yeah, that's just poor. That is so poor by Trevino Jacobs. You know, I mean, the 22 landing around the halfway line and takes out, I think it's Ruben van Heerden in the air. Yeah, look, I mean, he looked up and saw her and needed to get out the way. If you're not going to be able to compete, you can't afford to do that because he's just taken out Ruben van Heerden in the air. And this is within Curran Bosch's range. So, yeah, not the best moment for the youngster because, I mean, that's get blown all the time. There's no leeway. If you're taking the man out in the air, there's not much leeway at the best of times, and especially when you actually looked at the player and saw him. So Curran Bosch will have a chance now to level the scores, and we'll go into half-time off to what feels pretty much nothing. And then we'll get Lacagna back out on the fans chat, and we'll discuss the 16 minutes of rugby we've seen. So if you have any questions for the halftime chat, please put them in the comments. I mean, we haven't had much to speak about in terms of the game, so yeah, if there's anything you want to chat about or any questions, stuff like that, chuck them in the chat and we'll debate them at halftime. I'd almost like to see a shortened halftime, to be honest. And that goes off to the right once again. Curran Bosch is not kicking well. I mean, they're not easy chances, you know, but for someone who's always got the distance, it didn't. Yeah, I think those are 3 very kickable goals that he has now missed. So that's 9 points that he's missed, and the Sharks could be well in front. And speaking of mistakes, it now looks like Morné Steyn has completely kicked that straight into touch, which will once again. So just. Error after error as we're going to come back for a scrum with Morné Steyn having put that straight into touch. So after getting away with that, they've now allowed the Sharks straight back into the game with a scrum. Lacagna played prop. I think he was in the loose, the tight head side. We can ask him at half time. He was a very good, and for somebody of his size, some very good hands as well. Unfortunately played with a bit of injuries during the Vast Shield, but a very good player for Rhodes. Also played for Graham College. Yeah, and a good point there by Dries. I wonder how interrupt the game will influence change the use of the bench for both teams. I mean, it means that your sort of players who sometimes struggle to last the game should cope a lot better. The likes of Thomas Toy, even Oxenchair isn't playing full 80s though. That's a very good line there by Upleader Fassie. Spoon Coursy's got some space ahead of him, and he goes over as he does. A huge leap, no issues there. Spoon Coursey, one of the best finishers in the country. He goes over, and the Sharks are on the scoreboard. They score the first try of the match, and that comes down to Morné Steyn kicking that straight out of touch. So this is what we talk about. Small moments and who can take the pressure. And very uncharacteristic that Morné Steyn would make that mistake. But the Sharks go to the right. Jaden Hendricks draws and passes. Upleader Fassie joins the line. There's the overlap. Cornel Hendricks is there, but just too good for Spoon Coursey. And it's such a difficult one because he goes down the right and he sees Cornel Hendricks and he puts in his characteristic leap, which just takes anybody out the game. And it's so difficult to defend against. But the perfect way for the Sharks to finish the first half. And right, now Cohen, you could have been up to 20 points here if you had slotted all your kicks. So now's another opportunity. This is the hardest of the lot. This is on the touchline. So if there were one kick I'd forgive him for missing, it would be this one. However, having missed the other 3 kicks, kind of needs to make up for it. No, and he missed. No, it is. He's curled it in. So after that, I mean, to have missed the other ones he's missed and then to curl that one, I mean, that's a ridiculously difficult kick. It doesn't get much harder than that. And he's curled that in. So the Sharks move up to 13-9. A fantastic finish by Spoon Corsi there. Right, and the Sharks with just 10 seconds to go, all they need to do is take that, use up some seconds, and move into halftime. And there goes the hooter, and they are over. And that is halftime. The Sharks take an advantage into halftime after the break. And it's going to be a 7-minute halftime, so it will be a slightly shortened halftime. Right, now let's try and get Lacunha back on. Don't think he quite signed up for this, but hey. Okay, half time. Score is 39 to the Sharks, having just scored the first try and 2 errors actually. I mean, Cohen Bosch missing the penalty, which then gave the Bulls a 22-meter dropout. And yeah, of which Mornay Stain put straight into touch, and suddenly the Sharks had an opportunity to hit back. So the Bulls will be ruining that because I think it was just a needless opportunity to give away. But let's get Lacunha on. And chat about what we've seen in the short time that we did. Long time, Chongs, long time. Chongs, can you hear me, yeah?
Yeah, I can hear you, Steve.
Yeah, so it's been a while since we had a chat, but we're back.
Yeah, certainly, Steve. We're back.
And what a try from Spoon Corsi. I mean, must be one of the best finishers in the country at the moment. I mean, how do you defend that?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few wingers at the moment that you don't want to be one-on-one against because, I mean, Spoo, he can beat you with pace, he can beat you with a step, or he can just run over you. So you sort of caught in no man's land in that regard. Yeah, but certainly, definitely one of the best, deadliest finishers we've got in South Africa. I think we've got, 3 wingers who are just deadly. Mapimpi, Gosi, Cheslin, like, what a cheat. What a cheat.
And I mean, I think, as Cornel Hendricks, I mean, it's difficult to be critical of him because of what do you do? But I think also, I mean, he had that sort of slight pause. He wasn't quite sure. And I think that, I mean, when you pause against Spoo, for me, I think if I was him, try and almost commit. And if he steps inside you, he steps inside you. But giving him that outside, you're going to lose that race.
Yeah, I think also Cornel, he did well to actually even get there because in the initial play, he was initially defending in the midfield. Yeah. And I think it was just across as quick as he can. And as soon as Spoo hit that pause, that goosey there, he didn't stand a chance. He didn't stand a chance.
And there are a few better sides than seeing that Spoon Corsi when he's mid-air. And you just know when you see Spoon Corsi making that jump of his dive into the try. I mean, yeah, it's overs. It's overs.
Yeah, but you definitely know.
you do have to ask, the Sharks shouldn't have even been in that situation. I mean, Currenbosch missing another penalty, and then the Bulls having a 22-meter, a couple of minutes to go, could have just gone to the half 9-3, and then very uncharacteristically kick it out for touch, and suddenly they've got give the Sharks an attacking scrum.
100%. I think, I mean, Mornay and Cohen are two of the players that we highlighted at the top of the show. So it's, again, it's just back-to-back mistakes from them, gifting the Sharks that opportunity. But I think the Sharks did very well. I mean, it was clinical, good move from Jay, 8-9 move, slick passing to the point, good straightening off the line from Fassi, creating the space out wide for Smooth to do what he does best. But yeah, right, you're right. Mornay shouldn't have kicked that out. You wouldn't expect that error from him. But equally, it shouldn't have been a kickoff. Cohen should have converted. So it's just been, on the back of a couple of errors. But I think the Sharks will take this position rather than the 3 right now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, even before that, I mean, that was pretty much the first time we've actually seen the Sharks attack with any sort of venom. And I think that, I mean, Currenbosch had that drop attempt, which I think they probably should have kept in hand, given the fact it was the first time they'd had any sort of possession within the Bulls' half. But having said that, the Bulls also looked like they were in for a try before that penalty. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more sort of running rugby and a bit more attacking and try and see a couple of tries in the second half.
Yeah, definitely. We can see now the sun is shining, so hopefully no rain or anything of the sort. But yeah, the Sharks definitely did well to sort of scramble, and I thought Jacobs Strivino will be over there for a moment, but the Sharks did very well to sort of cross cover and scrap back to just force and concede 3 points at the end of it.
Yeah, which turned out to be actually a very good result. Right. So now, as the Sharks, you've got a 4-point lead.
Sure.
What is your attitude? Do they try and score another one and bury the game, or is it a case of try and get a penalty and just keep extending that lead and make sure the Bulls have to try and score to try and win it, and then just back your defense?
Yeah, I think I mean it's finals footy, so points on the board is first up. I'm sure the Sharks would love to get back-to-back penalties, convert them, Cohen kick over for 6 points, and I think from there, if they can get more than 2 score difference, I think that's when they'll maybe start to look to be more adventurous. But up until that point, I think if you can get the scoreboard ticking over, accumulate the points, I think that's the best approach for the Sharks.
Yeah, I think for the Bulls, it'll probably be fairly similar, to be fair. I don't think they'll be worried too much about scoring tries. They'll know that Mornay seems to have gotten his rhythm back, and they'll just try and get into positions. And look, we started to see a bit of scrum dominance from the Bulls.
Sure.
I mean, so I think what you're going to see with the Sharks, I mean, Jaden Hendricks has been doing it quite well, is get that ball in and get that ball out. Because I think if he keeps the ball in, I reckon we are starting to see a bit of a shift in the scrums.
Sure. Yeah. Again, the Bulls will back themselves come scrum time, and I think also with experience on the bench. So I think the Sharks wouldn't want to sort of have too many of those. But I must say also the Bulls coming out from halftime, I think they've seemed more assured in attack. It's again, the try was as a result of an error, but the Bulls got into the Sharks, deep into the Sharks 22. They look like all money to score, but for solid defense from the Sharks. But I don't think the Bulls will be too disappointed. But obviously you don't ever want to go into halftime, behind. But it'll be interesting to see how the second half pans out. But it's going to be interesting come scrum time. I think that's where the Bulls can sort of assert their dominance. Get a quick couple of quick penalties with Mornay converting.
Cool. Well, brilliant. Thank you so much, Chongs. Lovely to have you on here. We are back in the second half, so I will catch up to you sometime soon.
Okay, sweet. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks
cool,
for everyone who's been listening.
Yeah, enjoy the game.
Right, you too, Steve. Cheers.
Right there, so Lekanya Chongweni, our first ever fans voice on the channel, and we are back for the second half. 40 minutes to go, and game very much alive, and Bulls winning an early penalty that Mornay has found touch. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think both sides. I mean, it's 4-point game, and I think that both sides, as Lekanya was saying, have shown reasonable intent and ability to try and get over that try line. And I think that we will hopefully see some tries. They don't say how many points do you think the Sharks need for the Bulls to chase the game. Well, I think they need to try and get to at least 2 tries, and be in a situation where the Bulls cannot afford to just win set pieces and just go for points. Because I think that, you've got to back that. I mean, the Bulls, the pack wise, the Sharks are gonna have to front it. Because I don't see the Bulls backline. In theory, the Sharks backline should be good enough to hold them at bay. So it comes down to trying to force the issue. And I think that the more you force the issue, the more you try and ask the Bulls to play something that they aren't necessarily the best at. And there we go, a big penalty there by the Sharks, who win it on the ground. Yeah, I think it's a matter of you want to try and make sure that what do the Bulls not want to do? And the Bulls won't want to try and chase a game, try and score lots of tries. They'll want to try and keep it tight. They'll want to go for the set pieces. They'll want to win penalties that way. So as the Sharks, whether it's penalties, and there we're going to see Curran Bosch going to have a go from inside his own half, this will require a bigger effort. Is at altitude though. But yeah, Sharks, I think you want to be putting on this could be 17. You want to get up to that 20, 23 and sit there and say to the Bulls, it's not good enough for you just to win some penalties. You will have to score a try or two to win this game. We are actually in the process of starting a Discord. I don't know if anybody uses Discord, but we're trying to find a way to have these sort of chats during the week and stuff like that, and try and find people to have on the show like we had Lukanya there and have a bit of Fad's voice. Always had lots of cool people in the comments with so many good things to say that we want to try and get more people on the show itself. So we are in the process of starting a Discord, and hopefully we'll have that link in a few minutes as Curran Bosch strikes that beautifully. Now that is what we've been asking for, Kerwin. If you've been doing that all game, the Sharks would be well in control. But that is the perfect start for the Sharks, who take a 16-9 lead in just the 3rd minute of the second half. And a very good kick receive there. And I think that's a part where the Sharks have been quite good, actually, is receiving kickoffs. And having said that, they're trying to run it, which is always, it can go one of two ways. Running it out of your own 22 can sometimes work. It also sometimes mean there can be a turnover ball or a penalty, and suddenly the Bulls can hit back immediately. As Dylan Richardson carries it up. And now they are shaping to kick. They've lost the safety of the 22, though. We haven't seen much of David Creel yet. Mornay Stain will probably return the favor. He does. He goes up, and David Creel will now have a bit of a chase on him. A good take by Apelele Fassi. He rides the contact well and retains possession, though. Yeah, there's a foot and touch there as the Sharks went there. So the Bulls will have a line out. Bit of a scuffle going there on the side there. I think it looks like JJ Van der Mesh and Curtly Orense. I know who I'd back at that fight. Look at someone your own size, JJ. Yeah, Penke just stepping out of touch. Yes, the Bulls winning the line out there, shifting out wide. David Creel gets a bit of space. And now here we go. Jimino Jacobs. Oh no, he's mistimed the pass and he's lost it forward. Oh, that's heartbreaking for the Bulls fans there. A great run there. All he had to do was try and find the man, which I think at the end of the day, well, by the end of it, maybe the pass wasn't on, could have taken contact, but did pop. I couldn't actually see who was in the inside there under pressure, and the Bulls have lost it forward on about the 5 meter almost. Yeah, great run there. David Creel shifts it out. Shavina Jacobs gets in the inside there, and Lukanya tracking back very well and forcing that knock on. So a big opportunity lost there by the Bulls, but the Bulls, every time they've gone wide and they've found their wings, do look quite promising. So I think that is something that they'll take a lot of heart from. So there's time off here at the moment before the scrum. So, no, you idiot. Good news is the sun is out and the weather looks a lot better, which will hopefully stay that way. We're seeing 6 handling errors from the Bulls, just 2 from the Sharks. Sharks with a defensive scrum here now. So, yeah, they'll need to be good here because a penalty by the Bulls, and I reckon you could see the Bulls actually go for the line. Bulls are suddenly, yeah, you see a huge scrum there. And they've managed to get it out, so good work there by the Sharks. And Sweekenborg just had a nice area there. He shrugged off more stay, and he managed to get himself down to ground and get some support. But there we are seeing the scrum battle. The Bulls scrum is so, no man, that's okay. I didn't think it was that big. Curran Bosch, a bit of a nothing kick there, but eventually sort of going down the left. It's a decent chase, and they've won a penalty. Lakanya, I mean, for an outside centre, he's very solid over the ball. And you can see a good kick chase there for what I initially thought wasn't a great kick, but was towards the touchline. And then Lakanya, all over that tackle. And over. No ways, Kerwin. Kerwin's going to have another goal here because he's trying to roll the ball a bit forward. And this would be a big moment. If after having been under that pressure, the Sharks can go and find some points here, that's a big moment in the game. They can put in quite a big lead, and suddenly the Bulls will need a try to get back into the game. Okay, this is 63 meters on the angle for Curran Bosch. 4 from 7, yeah. Right, so Bosch, he's got the distance. That is an immense kick, but it is to the left. So not quite finding the distance, I mean, the accuracy there, but distance there for Curran Bosch, definitely there. And I think that's, yeah, it's a problem though for the Bulls when you can't concede a penalty pretty much anywhere besides beyond the Sharks' 10-meter. But yeah, I think Bosch will look back at this game and think that there were definitely 3 of them that he probably should have nailed. Meanwhile, the Sharks, after having received a kick from that's another penalty. Right, so the Bulls receiving, going deep from the restart there. Sharks turn the favour and uplet fast. He's just guilty of taking Morningstain out without the ball. So the Bulls will now have a chance to kick to the line and set up a line out. I think the Bulls will need to try and hit back here because they're on the front foot, I'd argue, but Sharks hanging and defending well. So for the sake of the neutral, a try here would make things very, very interesting. The Bulls set pieces, we always thought they were going to try and target the set pieces, and the scrums are starting to shift towards the way of the Bulls. And yeah, now a line out just before the 22, so probably a chance to set up a bit of a rolling more, try and win a penalty. And then, look, to be honest, if they win a penalty, I would actually look at going for the scrum because they do seem to have a lot of dominance. And if they can see quite a few penalties, then suddenly the Bulls, I mean, the Sharks could be entering yellow card territory. Right, so the Bulls win that, shifted to the right, and are now going through the phases here. Some good hands there. Marco Janssen van Vuuren just hangs on. And Van Zyl kicks behind, and that's a very good kick from the scrum off. He's found touch by the 5-meter and pinned the Sharks back. And now the Sharks will have a defensive line out with, after 10 minutes, a very good start to the second half. Just 10 minutes in, and we're seeing a lot of action here. Right, so Faison Batu was very good in the semi-finals in terms of reaching his man. Has only had 2 lines so far, and they did lose the 1. So A big pressure throw here for the youngster, who finds his man through Sintomanjezi's hands. And Sharks have kept possession here in the 22, and Jaden Hendrickson will shape to kick now. It's not going to go out. It's a good chase here from Pancake. A good test here for Curtly Orenso, who doesn't take it, but Lizo Oboka is there. But I think Jaco Pepper judging it to have gone forward. So Sharks will have a scrum on the Bulls, on their own 10 meter rather. Okay, time off here. Jaco Pepper having a word with the captain. So busy just trying to sort out a Discord server that we're going to try and start, because I think we've got so many people involved in the comments that if we can try and get a bit of a community going, we can try and get some more chats going. We're going to try and get more fan cams, get a bit of a fan forum, maybe a weekly show where we chat fans on the channel and discuss what's going on. Okay, so we've got a penalty here from Jalpenke, who's shoved Johan van Zyl out the way, I think, is what I'm seeing. So it's a bit of, I don't know, it's a bit soft. And suddenly the Bulls have got a penalty, which is huge. And Mornestein is shaping for the line out, so not turning down the option for points. And that's what you said, discipline. I think that's harsh, though. I mean, I don't think it was violent conduct. So yeah, it's a bit of a harsh call there by Jaco Pepper. But either way, the Bulls will now have an opportunity. They found touch inside the Sharks 22. And we're sort of sensing a bit of a momentum change here. Right, Bulls trying to set up a maul here. He finds the man. Looks like JJ Fundament's gone over the top, and he's got his hands all over Marco van Staden. But the Bulls eventually managed to get out the top there. Right, and now the Bulls trying to go through the phases here. So far, all forwards at the moment haven't had much of the back line at the moment, but Sharks defense holding steady. When Stain goes himself, he gets wrapped up, drops the ball, but they have managed to keep it. A bit sloppy here from the Bulls. Need something to just try and get them over the advantage line and try and steady themselves. And that's a turnover there by the Sharks. That's been ripped in the tackle. And Bosch now kicks behind. There's nobody home. So this will come down to the bounce of the ball. It's a very good chase here. David Creel will have to kick it. He does. And he does find touch about the halfway line. So it's very well played by David Creel. He had to track back there. And that's a big moment there from the Sharks. And this is what I'm saying. Sharks winning the small battles despite the Bulls' probably dominance at the moment. Trevor Nyakane was a bit isolated here, and they managed to turn the ball over on the ground before Curran Bosch pinned them back. And the Bulls just a bit, I don't know, I think it's just a bit predictable, I think. I mean, it's just going through the phases here, not much happening. That's actually a very good point. I've also got my last beer, so I think it's probably time to open it up as we head into the last sort of 40 minutes. So, everybody who doesn't have a beer, apologies to you, but I'm going to try and enjoy this. I'm in a can. Never like to be in a can. Let me just rectify this clock over here, which has been a bit of a disaster. 53:13. Yeah, it's a good line up there from the Sharks. They hadn't even got a penalty though for taking playing the man in the air, so they do have an advantage, which will be an opportunity for Curran Bosch to go for poles again. Although the way he's kicking at the moment, definitely no guarantee of points. So with an advantage, Curran Bosch puts it up. David Creel takes a good take, but they will go back for the penalty. Right. So Curran Bosch, can you kick under the pressure, or are you going to miss this one as well? Hasn't been his best day of kicking. He's striking the ball well, but just, I mean, accuracy has been a bit of a problem. But this should be a relatively straightforward kick, and the Sharks should be able to extend their lead by another 3 here. And this clock is still giving me issues, but we should hopefully work. There we go. Apologies for that. Yeah, this clock's a nightmare. It is the correct score. We've got Curran Bosch lining up for another 3-pointer. He's missed 3 kicks so far. Starting to go into it. Sorry, missed 4 kicks. He's 50% kicking percentage at the moment. He's gotten 4 out of 8. Right. Good news is we started a Discord server. I haven't said that much, to be honest, but we've got a link. So if anybody does use Discord, then I'm going to put the link in the comments now. And if you want to try and get involved in our fan cams and stuff like that, then that will be the way to do it. Curran Bosch, he turns immediately. He adds the extra 3. And now Sharks in the driving seat with 50 minutes into the second half. Right, so Curran Bosch with that kick goes to, and that's the thing. A terrible regather from the Sharks, who've been good the entire season, but have lost it forward. That's Sika Mozanochi. He puts his hands up in the air, and suddenly the Bulls, after conceding a penalty, will have a scrum in a very good position. And if the Bulls can win a penalty or try and score a try here, then that's just poor, to be honest. Right, so there's our Discord server link. If you do have Discord, please do come join it. That's where we're going to try and get some fans into the shows, try and have some fan forums. Basically, we want to try and get your conversation and make it part of the channel. We are a For the Fans channel, so we want to try and get more fan input into the channel as a whole, and that's how we're going to try and do it. So if you do have Discord, go and join it. We haven't set up everything just yet, but we'll try and add some more sections. We'll do some transfer news and do some polls and try and make it really, really cool. I think it could be quite a lot of fun to just, the place where you can just go and chat with some other rugby fans about what's going on in the world. Meanwhile, the Bulls win the scrum, and that's a very good run by Shavino Jacobs, who came on the inside of Cornel Hendricks. He gets over the advantage line. And that's quick ball now. The Bulls looking at top here. But JJ van der Mesh, that is a potentially match-winning turnover. Brilliant effort there by the young lock. He gets over and he wins the penalty for holding on the ground. And once again, Bulls in the Sharks half have the momentum, have some good go forward, but just not quite being clinical enough there, not protecting the man, and Sharks will have a chance to try and boot this far down the field and get out of trouble. Right, so almost just over 20 minutes to go. Who are you backing? Where are we going with this game? What do you think? Is your side on top? Who are you supporting? Where are you watching? Let me know in the comments below. Up to 350 people watching. This has been our best and biggest stream by country miles. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in. Smash like on the video as well. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Sharks win the line out and they go high as well. And it's a good take there from David Creel, but Dylan Richardson's up. It's a very good chase. The Sharks' defense has really stepped up in the last sort of 10 minutes. And for all the Bulls got the bigger pack, Sharks definitely matching them physically at the moment. Batting to get going forward ball. That's a good chase though. And the Bulls win that back. And Ruan Nokia runs through down the middle. It looks like he's on advantage. Marco Janssen Furen finds a gap. It's a good cover defense there by Ruben van Heerden and the Kanya Arm. But Bulls on the front foot. Morne Steins left the ball behind. Okay, it's a knock on. Jakob Paper's got a call from the side. So we've got 2 knock-ons. I think we're going back for the one against Oh dear, Jakob has been taken out. Well, you might be the smallest person on the field, but took that hit pretty well. The referee's on the floor. It's all happening. It's all happening. And here we go. Jake White has emptied the bench. That is 4 replacements, it looks like. Aces are. Jock van Rooyen is on. Mornay Smith is on, as is Ambrose Papier. And this is, I think, probably the Bulls' trump card, is the fact that they do have a very, very good bench and lots of experience. Right, so how will Thomas Latoya and Oxenchair cope with a few fresh props? The scrum is on the 22 meters from the knock-on. Bulls looking very good in that build-up before Mornay staying left to behind. He hasn't been great today, actually. Yeah, he's dropped it a couple of times. He's kicked. I mean, he started a bit slowly with kicking, but it's gotten a lot better since then. Is the reason that there was a try, because he kicked that 22 meter into touch. So, yeah, for the experienced Mornay Steyn, probably expected a little better. I mean, the second half's been majority played in the Sharks half, but their defense has been very good. The question is, can they hold the Bulls at bay for another 20 minutes? 20 minutes, and if the Sharks can keep the scoreline, they will be Currie Cup champions. Right, so we've got Australia there. I think we had somebody from, a couple of people from Africa. I think we had somebody from Jakarta back. So we are everywhere in the world, which is so cool. That's why I do these things. It's an opportunity to chat to fans from all over the world, and it's very cool. And as I said, if we try and start a bit of a community, do join the Discord server there. That's how we're going to be doing fan forums. There we go, Argentina. Welcome, John. Yeah, it's an early shove there, I think, from the Sharks. There's an advantage for the Bulls. Chip over the top, and it's well. Oh, no, look, Kanyan spilled it. Okay, so it's collapsing on number 1. So we'll go back for the penalty. Now, decision time for the Bulls. Do they go for the points, or do they have another scrum? Do they go for the line? There we go. A couple of people from Ireland, from Australia, from Zim. Okay, so the Bulls have gone for the line. They're going to try and score a try here. Fight on the 5 meter. It is Ace who goes up. He's just come on. He wins his first line out. There's no advantage. Looks like a Bulls player that's gone down. There's the call for use it once. Right, so a very good defense there by the Sharks. They managed to stop them all, and Bulls have had to use it. Having a bit of a conference call over in the middle there. There we go, trying to shift the point, trying to almost create a maul there. But the Sharks do read it pretty well and manage to drive it down with there. And they actually won a penalty. That's very intelligent play from the Bulls. Mornay Steyn tips to the top. Curly Orange gets inside, but it goes out eventually. So I think we will go back for a penalty. Taking a leaf out of Rassi's book there and just creating a maul from pretty much nothing, basically. And it looked like that call came straight from Dwayne Vermeulen. And that's what you get with somebody like Dwayne. Has the presence of mind to realize the situation. They were struggling to get over the advantage line, so gets the ball, turns around, has a couple of players around them, and they establish a more right by the poles, and they win a penalty. Now it looks like they're going to go for a quick tap, and I reckon we might see a similar thing here. He goes himself. Right, now here we go. Can the Sharks stop the defense? Bulls are on the try line. They're edging close. That looks like it's over, and it is. And it is. I think it's Marco Verstappen that's gone over. Bulls back in the game. Ono Buerta, who's just come on the field, is the man that goes over. And that is all down to Duane Vermeulen. I mean, just setting up that maul out of pretty much nothing. Sets up the maul, wins the penalty, takes it himself, gets some momentum. And Ono Buerta goes over and you're not stopping him. He's just too big, too much power. And the Sharks defense, give them the credit, they held out for a long time, but the Bulls are back in it. And Morné Steyn adds the extra 2. And they go to within 3 points. Suddenly a 3-point game. Suddenly penalties could do the job. 15 minutes to play and they're finally heating up. This is why I said, I think some people going for a 20-point margin. This was going to be a close game. These are two very good sides. And I think the Bulls bench, which they've just emptied, I mean, we've got Ace in the field. We've got Ono Buerta. We've got Jacques Van Rooyen and Morné Smith. So I think the Bulls bench is going to be what, if they get home, I reckon the bench will have a big part to play. Right, got people from the UK, got people from the USA. So there we go, across continents, across countries. So I'll take there from the try scorer on the restart. Temelani Bolly on for the Sharks. Also seen Dan Juster there at hooker. And Ambrose Pierre will look to try and kick this as far down the field as he can. Right. So there we go, and this is a good opportunity, saying that now the Sharks will not make the mistake of trying to close this out. They need to attack. And I think this is important, you know, that what the Sharks need to do is keep themselves in the Bulls' half and try and find a try. You know, one try and suddenly the Bulls have to score again. So the momentum shifted slightly, and now it's time for the Sharks with 15 minutes to go. Hiron Andrews on the field, try and take charge and reinsert themselves back in the game. And it's lost, and that's frustrating. There we go. But it's well chased by the Sharks. Curly Arndt cleaning up there. And Bulls under pressure, but they do have possession. And Marco Jansen Firmini asked you to bring his left boot in there. It's straight down the throat of Curran Bosch. He saves up for a drop goal. Stop doing it. You're not going to do it. Yeah, so Curran Bosch trying for the drop goal there, giving the a terrible effort there, and the Bulls have now cleared, and that is a brilliant kick. I think it's Morné Steyn. That is a fantastic kick. It is. That is Morné Steyn at his best, all the time in the world, and he's found touch right inside the Sharks, one inside of the Sharks half, and suddenly the Bulls are back to where they want to be, and that's Morné Steyn for you. And I think that's just frustrating from Curran Bosch, because I don't think there was a need to do that. I mean, it was so unlikely. I mean, it's not bouncing nicely. It's very soft underfoot, and I mean, it's brilliantly fielded by Morné Steyn. He looks up, he sees there's no space whatsoever, and he launches it over Jarpenke's head into the touch. That's a fantastic kick. And the Bulls have one possession back. So, yeah, as I said, momentum's shifting in. I think the Sharks are a little bit guilty of, or having said that, terrible pass there, which goes behind Morné Steyn and Duane Vermeulen. The ever-present Duane Vermeulen has to clean up. And that's now been knocked on. So it's getting very sloppy in the last sort of 13 minutes here. Sharks have got an advantage. They've got space. They've got players out wide if they can find them. Pinky comes inside. Try and find some support. Sharks now with possession on the halfway line. Notcher there with a bit of a grubber, showing his 7 skills. And that's a massive penalty. Sharks have won a penalty inside the Bulls' half, and Curran Bosch will have a chance to go for goals here. And it looks like Seeker was a notcher. He put the grubber through and then ran through and won the penalty himself. So making up for his earlier error where he missed the kickoff, but this is a big time for the Sharks. They've been under the cosh for a long time, and Curran Bosch Oh, I'm not sure about this. The Sharks have turned down the opportunity for points. They're going to go for the line. I can understand the thinking. Try and run down the clock. Maybe try and score a try. But if this doesn't work out, suddenly, you know, that 3-point game means one try, a converted try, and the Bulls are ahead. Well, it's a brave call by the Sharks. They found touch in the 22-meter, have turned down the opportunity for 3 points. Look, with the way Cohen Bosch was kicking, it might not have been the worst call, but this only works if they can try and run out some time. Well, first things first, Hiron Andrews has found, and they've got an advantage. There we go. It'll be decision time once again. Cohen Bosch lifts it up. Apelefas is underneath it. It bounces back to the Sharks' side. They'll go back for the penalty. Now, once again, decision time. Do they go for points? Do they go for the line? What are they going to do? 10 minutes to go. It's all heating up here. Dwayne Vermeulen not happy with the decision at all. So, Sharks fans, what do you reckon? Are you happy with not taking the points, going for the line? What are we doing here? They're going for the line again. Trying to run out the time, but turning down points. Last 10 minutes. So after what has been a fantastic Currie Cup, it comes down to 10 minutes. Just a 3-point lead for the Sharks. They cannot afford to let the Bulls back into their own half. Now, as Darren says, take the points. I think so as well. I think 6 points, you can defend 6 points. It means that, you know, if the Bulls score out wide, it's a difficult kick. It means they can't take penalties to try and stay in the game. And we've got something from Panama. There we go. But to be fair, the Sharks' maul's looking good here. It's been brought down illegally. And now Jaden Henry still has to use him. Surprised still on the park, actually. Still no Sunil Nahamba. I think Sean Everett backing Jaden Hendricks' game management, to be fair. Knox and Chair will try and run this up. 9 minutes to go. The Sharks have got an advantage. So far, the tactic working, but you've got to feel that at some stage, you need to take the points. And here we go. Cohen Bosch puts it up. Wow, this is one of those kicks. If you win it, you can score. It goes over. No, I missed it. So it'll go out. So they'll go back for the penalty. It's not a very kickable penalty, so the Sharks will probably have no option but to go for the line again. It's working so far. They're running down the time, but they have now chosen not to take the points, which if the Bulls can... Look, if the Sharks score here, it's the right decision. Suddenly it puts them, you know, right in the driver's seat. However, 6-point advantage, that's not... the Bulls wouldn't have been able to take penalties, you know. They would have had to have gone for the try. So, look, it's 8 minutes down, so they're running down the clock, but 8 minutes is a long time. And they go short, and Temulani Boli has knocked it on. That's a big moment for the Sharks. And yeah, as I said, this is the problem now. So now the Bulls have got 8 minutes to get themselves down to the Sharks' territory and try and score a try. And if they do, that's them in the lead. So this is always the problem. And I think this is why, as Darren said, go for the points. When the points are on offer, it's a final situation. And they tried something different. Dan used to come short. Oxenchair pops it up. It's not a great pass, and Temulani Boli knocks it on as he goes. So well over the point we're supposed to finish. That lightning stoppage, meaning we're running well over 5 o'clock here in South Africa time. But look, the Sharks do have a line out because it was a free kick. And now 7 minutes. The Sharks, I mean, this is what the Bulls do. The Sharks are going to have to try and embrace the inner bull and just run it down. They're going to have to go phase by phase. I mean, we can remember the Bulls of old used to do this absolutely brilliantly. Would get into the lead, and with 6 minutes to go, would just forward after forward, crash ball after crash ball. They were so good at protecting possession and running the clock down. That's what the Sharks need to do here. About 6 minutes left to play. Can the Sharks do it? Curran Bosch is in the pocket. That's better struck. But it's gone to the right. I mean, that's 3 drop goals he's tried, and he's missed all of them. And with no advantage or anything, you've given possession straight back to the Bulls. It's a strange tactic. I don't know why he keeps going for the drop. Keep the ball in hand. They're wanting to run down the clock. It's not like he's been particularly close with his drop goals. Okay, so time is off. I think they're busy looking at a tackle here, which could be a penalty. I don't know who the tackle is on. Would it be a Bulls tackle on the Sharks player? Well, that's a big call. Chris Smith has come on for Mornay Stain. So for the Bulls, I don't think anyone left on the bench. I'm not sure if Monty Liebach's on. But it's a big call. Right, so there's checkers over, and I think it's Chris Smith who would have taken that. He launches it far into the Sharks' half. Right, so can the Bulls do it? 5 minutes to go. Need to get into the half and probably score some points. Wallace, I hate to break it to you, I'm not a Sharks fan. So if that's the implication, or a Bulls fan, then yeah, I am a neutral in this game. So I just want to see good rugby. So it frustrates me that I think the Sharks, which should have closed this game out, have made this very competitive. The way the game has gone, I think the Sharks deserve to be further ahead if Bosch would kick better and made better decisions. But having said that, the Bulls have been very good in the second half at keeping themselves in. And if they go and score a try here, the Sharks will be kicking themselves. Because they have been the better side. We've got a knock on here, and the Bulls will have a scrum. And this is the thing. Suddenly the Bulls win a scrum here. They've got a penalty. They can try and slot that penalty and take the game either to extra time, or at least give themselves a chance to get back into the half, win a penalty, and go for points, which could be to win the game. So I think it was when the Sharks had the chance to go for the points, they had to take it. Possession 52%, Bulls 48% Sharks. So it has been very, very balanced. Territory-wise, yeah, it has now suddenly moved towards the Bulls, who've been in the Sharks' half for most of the second half. The Sharks' defense has been good, though. Right, so we've got literally 4 minutes left on the clock, which should be going now. There it is. And we've got a scrum reset. This is what the Sharks will want. Just try and run down the time here. It's getting very close here. After all those games, I mean, it's been the longest Currie Cup I think there's probably ever been. Given the fact that we played a Super Rugby and locked, which is basically 2 rounds then of the Currie Cup. Okay, so a reset scrum here. It is a Bull scrum. It holds firm. There we go. Bulls starting to get a bit of dominance, but the Sharks counter shove, which means Pierre has to take it. It's a good inside ball there. Shavino Yarkins is ahead. He's through. Yarpenka tracks back. It's a great covering tackle, but the Bulls suddenly inside the Sharks' half. And they've got an advantage. You see, this is what I mean. There's a lot of space out there, but also no Bulls players. That's a great run by Cornel Hendricks. He's got what's 1, 2. He eventually gets brought down. But Pierre Snipes. He's lost it forward though. So it is a penalty. So, can the Bulls do it? Just 2 minutes left on the clock. Well, I think they have stopped time at the moment. And the Sharks, as I said, maybe are going to really ruin not having taken the points here. And they are. The Bulls are going to take the points. We could be going into extra time, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a longest game anyway because of the stoppage. And now the Bulls are going to have a kick, a goal, and they will square things up. This is going to go down as the longest Currie Cup final ever. We've had a big stoppage for Lightning, and now we potentially see extra time as Chris Smith comes in the field and he will try and kick his side into extra time with 1.5 minutes left. Now, as I said earlier, surely Sharks fans must be ruining the fact that you didn't take points. No, I pretty much buried these beers. I kept them outside the fridge and kept them warm, so I wouldn't drink them until the final. And Chris Smith as the extras, 19-19 with 1 minute to play. Yeah, as I said, it's the Sharks should not be in this situation. They should not have been in this situation. Had they taken the points, then they could have had 6 points clear, which means the Bulls would have had no option but to score. But now, with seconds left on the board, it looks like we are going into extra time. Right, so Oxen Chair's afternoon is done. A great effort from him. And Majola replaces him for what will be extra time. And the Sharks have won the line out there. 30 seconds to go. Can they win a penalty? Can they do something? They've made hard work of this. They have probably been better. But they should have seen this. They shouldn't have been in the situation. So, it's all about making decisions at the right time. For the Bulls, it's all about defending this and getting through to extra time. A huge line out. I mean, questions, as the commentator is saying, do the Bulls contest? They've won the line out. The Moore wasn't going much, so Jen Hendricks has carried it up himself. He was a bit isolated, but the support eventually arrives. And the Bulls have won a penalty. That is it. We are going to extra time. That is it. The Bulls have won a penalty inside the Sharks half. Chris Smith. Oh, he's missed it. No, it's not. It's gone out. It's gone out. So, Bulls not trying to go for the Sharks now. Look, I'm not going to extra time quite yet. The Bulls can still try and score a try. But at this stage, if there's any other stoppage in play, we will go to extra time. What a final this has been. And a big argument here. Because Chris Smith hadn't found touch. And it looked like Yalpenke had kept it in. I think it was Yalpenke. But the touch judge flag did go up, saying that he wasn't in touch when he did it. So, a big call. So if I was either of these fans, I would not be particularly happy now. But this is what we want, though. This is what we want. No, he's out there. He comes. He's jumping from outside the field of play. Can't have much of a debate there. The Bulls have started a maul. It's splintered off, but they still have going forward ball. A penalty, and they can win this. They've got the advantage. Have they done it? Have the Sharks thrown it away? Drop goal here. Can Chris Smith win it? It's up. It's to the left. It will be a penalty. Right. So, well, it's a no-lose situation here. Chris Smith is will take a three-pointer here. If he slots it, the Bulls will win. If he misses it, we will go into extra time. Late drama in the Currie Cup. What a way to finish the tournament. Mornay Smith. Sorry, not Mornay Smith. I think it's Henke Fento, JJ Fanamesh, the man, guilty. It's not an easy kick. I mean, how's that? Listen here, Chris Smith. Thanks for coming onto the field. Here's a kick towards the touchline to try and win the game / take us to extra time. This will go down as one of the best Currie Cup finals that's been played, I think. I reckon. I mean, if you can name a better Currie Cup final, let me know. But from recent memory, in terms of the drama, in terms of the strangeness of the game, lightning stoppages, big decisions, decent try. Right, Chris Smith, what are you made of? Can you kick the Bulls to a Currie Cup trophy? It's not an easy kick. It's about 5 meters, maybe 10 meters from the right-hand touchline. No, it's going to the left. It's going to the left. We're going to extra time. This game just will not end. It started over 2 hours ago. This game kicked off. We are 2 hours and 50 minutes after kickoff, and the Currie Cup is still on the line. What an unbelievable match so far. We are going to extra time. Not the best kick because it's going completely down the left, and the Sharks will breathe a huge sigh of relief. Right, so the way it's going to go now, we're going to have 10 minutes and then a 10-minute slot here. This will be the fourth. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is going to be, it'll be basically our fourth and fifth halves because we already had the first half split into two. So it's been a very strange game. Well, don't go away, ladies and gentlemen. We've got extra time coming up here in the Currie Cup final. Both teams scoring tries, 19-19 at the final 80 minutes. And you've got to think that as Sharks fans, if they had gone for those 3 points, they would be sitting here preparing to lift the Currie Cup. Decision teams, right? So here it is. If the scores are level after playing time, the winning team will be determined as follows: the team to have scored the greatest number of points after extra time, and if he scores a level, the team to have achieved the higher log position. So basically, if the Sharks need to win extra time to win the match. If it is still level after extra time, the Bulls will be Currie Cup champions by virtue of finishing higher on the log. So the Bulls need to basically last 20 minutes or win. The Sharks have got one mandate. They have to win the match. What an amazing game. Yes, Fred, I'm a Lions fan, so this doesn't mean much to me. I just want to see some good rugby, and we've definitely been entertained. And I have no complaints about what we've seen today. Right, so in terms of change, we've seen Jeremy Ward coming on for Maurice Lowe. Right, so what do we think? What do we think? I don't think anybody called extra time. Small moments. You think of that kick of Chris Smith, which almost didn't go out. That would have been it. If Chris Smith had nailed that kick, that would have been it. If Sharks taken the points, that could have been it. Right, well, yeah. Into extra time. Smash a like on the video if you enjoyed the match itself. Let me know what you think of the game. How's the refereeing? I genuinely think it's been pretty good, actually. I haven't actually disagreed with too much of what Jaco Paper has had to say. I think he's had a reasonably good game. I think there was one rough decision. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I think it was, Japenke pushing, I can't remember who he pushed out the way. Thought that was a bit soft, but generally I think it's been a reasonably good performance from Jaco Paper. What's been nice is he let the game flow. You know, there's a lot of scrums where I think a lot of other referees would have gone straight to penalties quite quickly, which he did leave let play on. And the Humber is on for extra time, so that'll be so nice to have some fresh legs there. Right, so let me make sure the clock's right here. Right, and here we go. That's a good regather from the Sharks to secure possession early and concede and win a penalty as well. I've got time off. I mean, the extra time has lasted a whole whopping, no man, 10 seconds, and we're ready to stop it as Jakob Paper has a couple of running repairs. Couldn't have done that, possibly done that when during the break, but hey. Right, let me know what you're thinking at the moment. Should the Sharks have already won this? You know, decision time. Curran Bosch finds touch on about the halfway line. And 40, this clock is a nightmare. Right, there we go. The Sharks line out. They do find the man. Good line of throw there from Dan Juster. They've got an advantage here, so Curran Bosch might be able to go for poles, or the way he's been kicking, they might actually favour the line out. But surely now they've learned to take the points when it's on offer. They are going wide though. And that's a knock on there. It's not the greatest pass there from Lacagna. I mean, they'll go back for the penalty, which is definitely in Curran Bosch's range. Whether they decide to go for the points or not, surely they have to go for the points. They've turned down the points too many times now. They're in this position because they turned down the points. They have to go for the points now. I got paper saying that Dwayne Vermeulen knows exactly what's going on. He said, you hate when it happens to you. I think he's talking about the Sharks just trying to slow the game down. Okay, so they're guilty of being offside there at the line out. And Curran Bosch is going to have, he put the tee down on the halfway line towards the right, so it's not the easiest kick. But he owes the Sharks some good kicks, because if he had kicked a little bit better, they might have actually gotten to over the line. He did kick a very good conversion from probably a more difficult position than this. So we know he can do it. It's all about the pressure now. Oh no, that's gone off to. Oh no, it's gone off to the left. He's not kicked well today. That's a big let off for the Bulls. And I think if the Bulls win this, it's going to come down to Curran Bosch missing his kicks. And it's a shame for someone who's played so well throughout the entire tournament that he could be the reason they lose. And the Bulls get away with one. Right, so Bulls restart goes long. They weren't going to play around with the touchdown after that. And the Sharks return, and David Creel takes it well. But it's a good chase by Yarpenke. Bulls the possession inside their half. Dark van Rooyen asked to hit it up. Now Chris Smith will put in a big up and under. It's a big chase there coming from Trevino Jacobs. But Curran Bosch under not much pressure. Spins around, but Jacobs does make the tackle eventually. The Bulls spills over the side. And now the Bulls have a penalty on the halfway line. Now, is this within Chris Smith's range? Will he back himself? You've got to back yourself. It's final rugby. You've got to back yourself. As Leonie said, if the Bosch managed to get all his kicks, the Sharks are at 31 points so far. So, yeah, these games come down to these big moments, and this is the thing. So Chris Smith now shaping up to kick. He missed his one, which could have won. The chance to redeem himself and try and get the Bulls up ahead. I think this will be decided on penalties. Right. So we've seen that Curran Bosch is training a little bit with BMT. Does Chris Smith have it? Oh, it looks like it's going over to the left. This is just ridiculous. He hooks it to the left as well. It's like neither side want to win at the moment. It is unbelievable. The amount of kicks missed today has been unbelievable. Oh my goodness. There we go. Right, so the Sharks will restart. We've got 5 minutes left in the first half of extra time. I don't even think it is windy. I don't think there's. I mean, I'm in Johannesburg and there hasn't been any wind whatsoever. It's been a bit of rain, but no wind today. And I just think it's been poor kicking. I don't think it's about the conditions. I think it's the pressure situation that are getting to them at the moment. That's a great defensive read. Noche has passed it forward, but I think there was an advantage. Forward pass. So the Sharks will have a defense. Well, the Bulls will have an attacking scrum inside the Sharks' half. Noche picking up, seeing the. No, Noche, sometimes you just got to take that. He looked up and saw Chavino Yakos and just passed it to you quickly and just went straight forward. Right, so the Bulls in the Sharks half here. Big opportunity now. This will be a much easier kick if they can win a penalty. They have had scrum dominance mostly over the game, but this is a new front row. You still have Thomas Latoya on though. Michael Kumba has not come on the field, which I think is a bit harsh. But yeah, Sean Everett obviously just wants to keep Thomas Latoya on for as long as he can because I don't think he backs Michael Kumba at scrum time. Can't afford to concede a penalty like that. Solid scrum there. Sharks with a counter shove there, and Bulls have to use it. Cornel Hendricks hits it up there. He's played well today. Bulls are cemented. Just a few minutes left in the first half of extra time. Jacques Van now asked to carry it up. Less than 3 minutes to play in the first half. Bulls on the front foot here. They're almost up to the 22 meters. And the Sharks have... No. Sharks almost turned it over, but Jacques Van got over there. But there it has been turned over. Hiron Andrews has gone over. But Cody Arons has suddenly jumped on that. So it's a lot of scrappy play on the... No. Now the stream's gone down. Right, so we've got a knock on here for the... Sorry, my stream went down. I just had to get it back up. But after here, right, so 2 minutes here. I'm just trying to work out what happened. And the stream went down. It just got back up. So I have to try and see what's happening here. It is a knock on, so there will be a scrum. Who's put in there? It is... Right, now we're going back. I've got an injury there. We've got Thomas Toys on the floor here. Surely they will see Mark Kummeroy come on the field now. If the score remains level at extra time, then the Bulls will win by virtue of finishing higher on the log. That is the situation. No first to score, anything like that. They'll play the full 20 minutes, and if the Sharks are not don't win the extra time, then the Bulls will win the Currie Cup, regardless of whether they've won the game, because they did finish higher on the log. Doesn't look good yet for Thomas Latoya at all. He's down the field, and I reckon this will be the end of his game. Cornel Hendricks, they're going through his... I mean, every game I watch, they got a highlight reel for him. He's been fantastic since moving to inside center. A great story, a great player, great personality. So just waiting to sort out Thomas Toy before we'll restart with the scrum. Just under 2 minutes to go in the first half of extra time. Right, some stats for Cornel Hendricks. He made 9 runs, gaining 27 meters, 4 line breaks, 5 tackles made, and an attacking kick. Bit of an odd stat, the attacking kick there, but hey. Looks like a very stressful coaching staff. I'd hate to be in the coaching staff. I mean, this has been an incredible game. Very stressful for all the fans and all the coaches. Yes, Jamie Ward is on for Marius Lowe. Came on at the beginning of extra time. And so ends the last beer I managed to save until now. Well, it was worth it, I suppose. Hopefully the bottle store's open soon so we can get our stock ahead of... Got some Six Nations which we're going to cover, so we'll be live again next weekend for Six Nation, which would be a lot of fun. A bit of a sort of scouting report for the British and Irish Lions series. So, yeah, smash a like. Also subscribe to the channel if you want to see the Six Nation watch-alongs. As I said, it'll be the perfect sort of way to build up towards the Lions series, which I'm hoping will be postponed. I'd really like to see the Lions series back in South Africa next year with crowds. Yeah, it'll be such a waste if it either goes to the UK or even if it happens here behind closed doors. It's not really what the tour is all about. So, yeah, we'll be live again next week for Six Nations. Also got some... there we go, Dave. Thank you. We've got the cricket on as well. South Africa taking on Pakistan. So we'll be doing that coverage there as well, looking at the Test series. And we're also going to be doing live watch-alongs for the T20 series. Early call for the Six Nations. Yeah, it should be good. I mean, I think England's got a good squad. France is a very good shot. Ireland are always going to be in and around. I think it's going to be a great Six Nations. I think it's going to be really cool to have the Six Nations, having just had almost recently towards the end of last year with that sort of catch-up. So, yeah, I think France is a decent shout. I'm going to go with England. I think Eddie Jones... Actually, I don't know. England's always such a frustrating one because you just know they've got the players and it just comes down to whether they can string it all together. I love watching France. Yeah, I think France is a decent shot actually. I might go France. I'm going to do a preview this week and I'll make a good call there. But Darren, I'm going to keep that as your prediction here. So towards the Six Nations, we'll remember that one. So you're going with France for Six Nations. And the Sharks have won a penalty from the scrum. So that's a big get out of jail free card. Mark Kumbarai in his first scrum on for Thomas du Toit. And that's a big moment. So just just over a minute left in the first half. So the Sharks will kick it very deep. Right, so we've got a Wales. We've got Marcus backing Wales. Linton and Azabi are backing England. Bosch finds touch inside the Bulls' half. And the Bulls have won that line out actually from the Sharks, so they'll have 30 seconds to try and get down to the Sharks half, but it looks like this will probably be the score come half time for extra time. Literally 20 seconds left to play. Bulls are a long way to go. Mark Kumbarai, it's a very nice tackle. He's just come on, and the Sharks are trying to counteract here. Bulls hanging on for dear life, and they've looked like they managed to keep possession, but it was almost a very good counteract there from the Sharks. Chris Smith tries a cross kick there. Lots of space there. Bruno Jacobs, a good read there from Spoon Corsi and a good tackle. And they'll just go into touch. Right, so half time in extra time, 19-19. Still nothing separating the two sides. Remember, the Sharks have to win this game if they are to win the Currie Cup. If the scores are level after extra time, the Bulls will win by virtue of finishing top of the log. So, yeah, another big 10 minutes ahead. So what's interesting is we're talking about the altitude in the first half, and the fact that because there was that stoppage for Lightning, it might not play such a big role. However, we have then seen we're now obviously gone into extra time, so I think we might actually start to see a bit of altitude playing its part. They have left the changes quite late, to be fair. I think Sean Everett has been quite cognizant of that fact. Okay, so literally only enough time for a quick chat, and we're about to get back underway. Let me just sort out this scoreboard. Yeah, it's an interesting point because the Bulls empty their bench to try and get a result, and they're now having to play a bit longer than they probably would have thought. But you'd like to think that the Bulls playing at altitude probably do have the fitness over the Sharks. Just waiting for the kickoff to get the timer going. So we will go up to 100 minutes of rugby as Curran Bosch gets us underway for the final half. It all comes down to 10 minutes. Regardless of the score, this will be the last 10 minutes of the game. And that is an early penalty conceded, I think, from the Sharks, just being a bit too over-eager with the kickoff. It's a good take there from Mano Buerta. A great kickoff. I mean, Curran Bosch trying to find that touch line. He went a bit too far in the first half, but that was inch perfect. I lied, it wasn't a penalty. I thought it was taken out in the air, but it will be a line out to for the Bulls. It's a great chase there for. Okay, no, I lied. It was obviously a penalty, and then that's the line out there. So I wasn't showing you very much what's going on here. So the Bulls have won the line out there. A minute into the last half. Brosapia hangs that in the air, but it looks like that's a good take there by Apollo Fassi. He returns the favor with his left boot. And straight down the throat. Bulls might look to run this. No, Chris Smith is going to bang this down field. And Curran Bosch is back to field it. He's got the set to 22, so he's going to look for touch as far as he can, but he doesn't find it. Papia now looks for touch, but that's a bit of an ordinary kick. And now it looks like Jalpink is actually going to run for it. Right, he gets up to the Bulls' 20-meter line. As I said, the Sharks have to take the lead. They have to win this game, or else the Bulls will win. Let's do it. No, Curran Bosch goes up for the drop kick. That's a great kick chase. Now, Lekanya, I'm there. Monty Liebach's been pulled out. I think it's a forward pass in the build-up. So it was a great chase by the Sharks, who won possession back. But the forward pass, they were trying to get out to Jamie Ward outside. So it will be a scrum for the Bulls, a defensive scrum. The Bulls have to hang on. If they can hang on for 8 more minutes, they will win the tournament. Guys, we're going to scrum here for the Bulls. 8 minutes left. Right, so 7 minutes to go. Bulls defensive scrum deep inside their half. It's gone down and it looks like it's going to be a reset. Could have been a penalty there. Majora looked like he had his knees on the ground there, but there will be a reset. Yeah, so the Bulls will be happy to just run the time down, remembering that if it's even at the end, then they will win the tournament because they did finish higher. So the Sharks have to try and turn this ball over and find a way to score some points. They have to be in the lead. Their only chance of winning the tournament is to win the game. Very good contest there. Not much giving at the moment. It's available for Ambrose to appear, though, so he will use it. And Chris Smith will pump this down the field. Finds touch up towards the halfway line. So the Sharks will have 5.5 to 6 minutes, or 5.5 minutes to try and get themselves to position. And then it comes down to if the Sharks can win a penalty, does Curran Bosch have the BMT? He hasn't seemed to have it so far, so it all comes down to whether he'll be able to slot it right at the end. And that's not gone straight, so that'll be to the Bulls. A big mistake there from the Sharks. Yeah, I can't really argue with that. So the Bulls will have a scrum. As I said, the Bulls will just need to last here. They can last 5 minutes, they'll be the champions. It all comes down to big moments. You've got to think that line not being straight. You've got to look at Curran Bosch missing that, missing those kicks, you know. The decision is not to take the points. And I think decision-making wise, that's probably when the Sharks have come up a bit short. Ivan Van Zyl can barely watch. Bulls win it, and once again, Chris Smith goes to the boot. Bulls will just want to get as far down to the Sharks territory as possible. A very good take there by Spoon Corsi, but it's a great read by Cornel Hendricks as well. And the Sharks pin back in their own half. They've got 4 minutes to get into the Bulls' half and find some points. JJ van der Mest, he must be knackered. Okay, and the Bulls have actually won possession back. The Sharks, yeah, looks like it's going to be the Bulls, and they've got an advantage. The Bulls have an advantage. There it is. That is huge. The 3 minutes. All the Bulls have to do is wind the clock down. They've got an advantage. If so, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for the corner. To be honest, depending on where they've got another. I think they've still got an advantage. Yeah. Yeah, new advantage there as well. Right, so at this stage, it looks like it's going to be a kick again for Chris Smith. And at this stage, it's going to be a kick where if he gets it, they'll definitely win. And if he misses it and it's a draw at the end of the game, it'll be a Bulls win anyway. Cornel Hendricks now getting a few meters. Sharks cannot afford this. They need, whatever's going to be the decision, they need to try and force the issue here. Whether it's try and turn the ball over after the advantage is gone. Roll the ball. And another advantage. Yeah, Sharks just sort of lost their way here. I think they've been offside there 3 times. And yeah, still another advantage. We've got 2 minutes. 2 minutes. There's 12 phases so far. Bulls not being expansive. They don't need to be. All they need to do is get through to the full time. Right, now they've got some space outside. Jacobs, it wasn't the best pass. He goes inside. He's been very good. He's always found meters. It's a good tackle there eventually by Michael Kumbrai, but and then Bro snipes around and Bro's up here. Oh, he almost gets there. Brilliant tackle there. I think it's by Spoon Corsi. And they've got another advantage. It looks like it's game over for the Sharks. No, that's it. That's it. Botha goes over for his second. That is it. The Bulls have won. The Bulls will be the 2020 Currie Cup champions, winning in 2021 after extra time. What a match. The Sharks' defense was good all game, but just couldn't handle the pressure. And in trying to be too overeager, overcommitted, there was an overlap. Trevino Jacobs got ahead. He got into the 22, and eventually it's Arno Botha who gets over. Off the bench, 2 tries to win the game. What a performance by the loose forward. Drags or Temelani Boli. Yeah, Majola trying to go low and just doesn't make the contact he needs to, and Arno Botha goes over. And that is it. So there we go. The Bulls, they've been the best side over the competition. I wouldn't say the best side on the day. I think Sharks will be ruining some poor decision making. But what a game at the end of the day. What a match. Time is up. So this is it. It'll either be 26-19 or 24-19. But either way, the Bulls are the Currie Cup champions. Chris Smith adds the extras. Final score after 100 minutes of rugby. The Currie Cup, after a double round, after all of that, it is Bulls 26-19. They will lift the trophy. What a performance from the Pretoria franchise. What a turnaround from being a year ago a union in a bit of disarray. Jake White has come in. He's brought in some massive players. Somebody like Arno Botha. He was a huge signing for them. He scored 2 tries in the final to win it for them. A brilliant, brilliant game to watch. Yeah, and I think the Sharks will rule that. I think the Sharks could have won. But you know what? As Sean Everett said, for the Sharks, he said the season was about building identity, about building the culture, and they've done that. So credit to the Sharks, credit to the Bulls. A fantastic final. Curran Bosch can't believe it. He'll have to watch those highlights and won't be too impressed with what he did. But a fantastic game. Thank you everybody who has tuned in. Always a really cool chat. Please do join our Discord server. It is in the pinned messages. So yeah, make sure you come and join us in the Discord as well. That is it though. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to be signing off now. We'll see you in a week's time for the Six Nations, which gets underway next week, Saturday. Thank you very much, and I'll chat to you guys very soon.